This is the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone listening. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week, signing on. I might move over to another location. I know I can hear the water and stuff right now. I'm sure it sounds louder to me than it does to you, because I know this has been an issue in the past, but, you know, for peace of mind or anything else. Anyway, today, I'm feeling a little bit better. You know, it's hit or miss, day by day. There's some good, some bad. But on the good days, try to take advantage of them, and today's a pretty good one. And I said to myself, I'm feeling okay. Pick up that microphone and just, start recording. Make good use of it while you can right now. So that's what I'm doing. So I got the microphone and I said, okay, I'm going to record some VORW because there's some things that I want to talk about. And, it's best to just talk about them when the idea's in your mind and when you can talk about it best, rather than force it and maybe not get all the points you wanted to get across, etc. Now, first and foremost, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts here. I'm recording this program, at least this first part of it, on Sunday. It's Memorial Day, I believe. So that's when I'm recording this, just so you can keep track of things. So when I upload this 2 weeks later, I'm sure, because that seems to be the given trend now, at least a few days later, I would put my money on. When this was recorded, so if anything has elapsed after this day, then you know why I didn't talk about it. Anyway, I have a few things that I want to discuss. A lot has gone down, and that's where it stands. There's some important changes to the radio show, some important updates with the channel, and just some things in general to talk about. I hope you'll stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. We got an exciting show. That's where the sarcasm comes in. So, I hope you sit back, relax, open a cold glass of water, that is, cold bottle of water, maybe some, what's a good brand? Dasani, that's a good one. Dasani. If you're in the Northeast, you'll know Poland Spring. Now, that one always tasted too many chemicals to me. If you're down here, Zephyr Hills, that's a good one too. What's another one? There's Aquafina, right? Great Value, the best of all. Great Value. But that one you gotta go with the full-blown jug if you want to go with the Great Value brand. But that actually is pretty good. But the king of all the waters is, of course, the Starbucks water. That's best. That's how it is. I actually have a Trenta cup right now. You can hear me banging it around on the table. There it is, sloshing around. Trenta cup of water from Starbucks. A lot of people will have the question. They see me with the Starbucks water. Why do you get it? And some people like to make fun. They like to say, I bet you're the loser that goes to Starbucks and just gets the free water. First and foremost, I do get something else. Every time I go to Starbucks, which is usually on a daily basis, I get two things. I get the water, Trenta cup of water, which is free. But along with that, I usually get a caffeinated drink too, because I need my coffee. I do. I'm hopelessly addicted to caffeine, and if I don't get it, it's not good. I've been trying to cut the energy drinks out of my life because those at times can't be very healthy, and sometimes, despite the amount of sugar, some of the stuff from Starbucks is a tiny bit better. I'm not saying it's any better, but maybe it's a tiny bit better than a Monster drink, you know. But I usually nowadays, I used to get at Starbucks, I used to always get the white chocolate mochas, but there's too much sugar in that, and I was cutting that out. And now I just get the iced vanilla latte, and that's good. Has low sugar, which is good. As a matter of fact, if you ever want to try and focus on minimalizing any sort of weight gain, or even be able to lose some weight, one thing that you really need to focus on may not necessarily be fat all the time, but also sugar. Something as simple as switching from a very sugary drink to a drink that has a little less sugar really can make a big difference. Anyway, anyway, I get the what is the name of this thing again? The vanilla latte, and it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, but it doesn't have too much bitterness either. I think it's a good iced coffee, really. It's enjoyable, and it has the caffeine I need in order to function. The other day, oh my goodness, I was a little bit late on getting the caffeine, you know. And that was an issue. I mean, I couldn't even look outside, really. Just the brightness of the sun, you know, gave me such pain behind my eyes. I had to, you know, couldn't even look anywhere. Well, that wasn't fun at all. But today's better. I'm caffeinated, and therefore able to function a little bit. Well, I hope everything's going well for you. Of course, heat of the summer is upon us. Today, for me, it's 100 degrees. It's literally 100 degrees. I'm looking at the thermometer right now. It's just shy of 100. But the heat doesn't bother me anymore. I mean, it used to get to me. You know, it used to bother me. But nowadays, the heat doesn't affect me anymore. It doesn't. I'm just used to it. I mean, today, for instance, I'm out here recording it in 100 degree weather, and I mean, I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, you know, long pants, no sweat. I'm comfortable. It's like wearing, think of it, you know, like in the winter, right? Have a blanket wrapped around you, or you're wearing a sweater and all this nice warm clothing. It's not that you're overheated. You have that warmth around you, but it's a comfortable warmth, you know? I think when it comes to heat, there's really two kinds. That which is comfortable, of course, and that which is not. But this is the comfortable type. This is comfortable. It's like I have a nice little blanket, nice sweater. So it feels good. It's not bad. But if you really want to know, I need more shirts like this. I really do. I'm wearing a 1980s contrast collar shirt. Do you remember those at all? It's like, what was the name of that guy in that movie, like the people on Wall Street wear? It's a blue shirt with white French cuffs and then a white collar. Anyway, I'm wearing one of those, and I have some black pleated pants with I'm not wearing a jacket right now, but a black 6x1 double-breasted jacket from the 90s. Black suit, I should say. And then I'm wearing it with a green and blue. The blue is actually the same shade as the shirt, so it goes nicely, a green and blue striped tie. But I want to find more of those, I really do. I've been looking all over for these contrast collar shirts, and they're so hard to find, but I enjoy wearing those because they're a quintessential 80s, even 90s look to it. So I enjoy wearing those, and I'm trying to find more, especially the blue with the white cuffs and collar. But even a lavender shirt with that contrast collar as well would be okay. But really the blue and white, I think, is the most classic look to it all. So anyway, that's where that stands. Oh boy, yeah, a few things to discuss. Of course, maybe you heard of what happened with the trolling, you know, the Manchester trolling. What bothers me about that is, you know, people, they went ahead and, you know, just decided to make, for those of you who don't know, I should start it out like that, some people went ahead and decided to make a collage of all the people who were victims in this Manchester attack. And they included my image in it, and said I was a victim of the attack that happened in Manchester. And it spread around Twitter and everything, you know, 40,000 retweets, whatever it was. And then some media picked it up too, specifically Reuters, Yahoo, Daily Mail, Daily Telegraph, and Fox as well. And they reported it that I was a victim of this attack, of all things. And oh, that was a lot of stuff to clear up there. That was some stuff to clear up. But, you know, it is what it is. It's cleared up now, and as I had been saying for days, my heart really goes out to the actual victims of the attack, not the people that were just on some troll collage. Oh, anyway, we had that happened. That was fun. If you ever if you want to find out more of that, you can watch the video I made about it called I Am Alive, because I had to do that, because some people would comment saying, who is this guy, etc., but a lot of people genuinely did think I was dead or injured or missing. I had to make a video explaining what happened. I think there's going to be a low-flying helicopter coming in, I don't know. We'll find out. But at the same time, if you are interested anymore, you can listen to the recording of the VORW Radio International program. Yeah, it's coming in. Wonder what type of helicopter it is. News, private, police. We'll see when it gets closer. Maybe I'll be able to tell. I think this will be a low-flying one, though. See this, here he comes. Looks, here he is, he's passing out of the tree line now. Looks like a private helicopter. Okay, probably a helicopter tour or something. I know right now it's a big tourist season, you know, everyone's going down and traveling around, doing their thing. Anyway, you could also listen to the latest VORW Radio International program, because at the beginning of every one of these VORW radio shows, I give a opening lecture that isn't included in these YouTube ones, and I'll oftentimes talk about topics perhaps more in depth or something that might get censored on YouTube. So you'll be able to hear me talk. I talked about for 20 minutes in that latest broadcast about what happened with the Manchester thing in detail, and I talk about fake news, and I highly suggest, especially as a consumer of the media, I highly suggest you read about it, or you listen to it, I should say. Gave me a new perspective on fake news, it really did. I mean, everyone talks about it, everyone knows about it, but you don't see it for the problem that really is until you get to experience it firsthand. I mean, everyone knows about fake news, you hear about it so much, but people can still fall for it so easily, even experienced journalists, so easily, especially in a developing situation. So it's something that you need to be aware of, and it's given me a new perspective on it, again, as I had to deal with this stuff quite recently. There's two things that I really want to talk about, and then it'll just be free-form discussion thereafter. Random updates, talk, you name it. So there's two important things that I want to talk about right now. The first is the idea of merchandise, specifically t-shirts, and some of the problems I've encountered, and perhaps some ideas to go along with it. The second is some major changes to the VORW radio broadcast, which unfortunately will discontinue broadcasts to some listeners whilst expanding it to others. And I'll explain the logic behind that as well. Okay. So first and foremost, and this is important, so I'm going to make sure that the microphone is still recording, so please pardon the click right here. Yeah, we're good. Now, I think the concept has been going around for years, and admittedly, it's something I've been on the fence about for a while. Okay, it is. It's something that I have been. Well, I've been on the fence about it. I admit it. You know. And I apologize for my vacillations on the issue. You know, from one to the other, and it seems disorganized in a sense and confused. The concept of merchandise for the channel, specifically t-shirts. I think I've had that idea pitched to me at least since probably 2013 or so. I didn't know where to start. I mean, I'm not a graphic designer. You know, I'm not an artist. If you remember in the last show, I think it was, I talked about my artistic, quote, talent, end quote, where I tried to paint a landscape and it was so ungodly terrible it was mistaken as an abstract piece. I mean, I can't paint, I can't draw to save my life. I can write, and my handwriting is almost illegible. Only I can usually decipher it, but I don't really have any talent whatsoever when it comes to taking pen, paintbrush, colored pencil, crayon, etc. to paper, or a mouse to a computer. I'm just not an artist or graphic designer at all. So when it comes to the idea of t-shirts, I mean, I'm at a loss. I really am, and I always have been, and I finally decided to start trying to do something with that, especially given the, you know, issue with the ads in YouTube. It doesn't hurt to try and find something else to hopefully, you know, pay the bills, sustain things a little bit. And a lot of people have suggested the idea of merchandise. But where to begin, you know? People say make t-shirts, but it's, you know, where do you begin? So first and foremost, I tried contacting a bunch of companies that make these t-shirts, and a lot of them didn't get back to me. A lot of them I would read in depth about, and it would just be all these positive, and not all these negative reviews too, saying they'll lock you in, they'll screw you over, terrible customer service, you name it, the list of complaints goes on. It was a struggle enough to be able to find a company, but finally I settled on one. The name of the company is Teespring, I believe, and they're pretty good. They have good staff, very friendly and professional. So I hope to try things out with them and hope things go well. So I'm in talks with them now. But now there's another issue when it comes to the t-shirts. Designs to put on the t-shirts, because again, I'm not a graphic designer at all. You know, I'm not. I wish I was. I wish I could just do this, watch. Tap on the table twice and have the best design in the world already off and sent to them to put on the shirts. But that's not the case, of course. I can't, unfortunately, I can't design anything good. I just lack the ability to do so. And when it comes down to all the fan art that I had been submitted to me, I don't feel comfortable about using someone else's piece without getting permission from them. And so far, I mean, I've contacted a few people, and some of the people demanded royalties, of all things, for that, and I don't have the... Number one, I don't have the money to be able to do that. Number two, I don't have the accounting department to take care of those either, so I had to, cut things off with that, unfortunately. I just don't have the logistical abilities or the financial abilities to manage those at this point. So I'm at a loss now. I have the contact with the companies, but I have no designs to use for any sort of t-shirt anymore at this point, so that's a big hurdle right now. I want to get this merchandise off the ground. I want to get something set up within the next 30 days for you. I'm very anxious to get this going, but I have nothing to provide them when they ask for the designs now, and that's an issue that I face. So I petitioned something, and maybe this will appeal to some people, maybe it won't, and I understand if it doesn't. I get it. But if you ever are interested and you would like to exercise any sort of artistic talent, if you would like to help out with the idea for these t-shirts, and you'd like to make a design that would be featured on a t-shirt, you can contact me at repweekinterview1@gmail.com. You can make a design, you can send it to me, because right now, as I said, I want to get this off the ground, but I have nothing to go off of right now. A lot of the people who had submitted fan art in the past, their emails are lost, they're buried, deleted, etc. And I can't get in contact with 90% of the people or so, and the 10% that I have, most of it just hasn't worked out, unfortunately. It's just been, it's tougher than you think, it is. But if any of you would be interested in creating a design, perhaps to be featured on one of these t-shirts, you could do so, and you could, again, for more details or to submit anything, you could inquire or submit it to repweekinterview1@gmail.com. It could be a design regarding the channel, but it could also be a design about the VORW show too. It could be a little mixture of anything. But if that appeals to you at all, I say go for it. I don't need a ton of designs. I don't need 50 or anything, just a small number, just to get things off the ground. Because this is, again, something that I've been really trying to get, to get off the ground lately, but I've been encountering this significant roadblock as of late, unfortunately. Well, that's where that stands. And I hope we can get some help, at least, with the matter, but I'll keep you updated in the next show. I'll inform you, I'll let you know where things stand with that. Now, the second thing. The VORW radio show. I promote it in every broadcast here. And I hope you do give it a listen if you would be interested in doing so. The VORW radio show is... it's a unique program. I can't speak for everyone, whether you'll enjoy it or not. I can't. Though the show has been very well received by listeners, a lot of people do enjoy the format. I really haven't gotten many complaints. But it's well received, and it's an hour-long program that features a mixture of my talk and commentary, and listener-requested music. And it's, again, you could find me talking about some unique subjects, unique topics that you won't hear on YouTube, and you also hear some interesting music, too. I can guarantee you that. You'll hear it on the, you'll hear really a wide variety of stuff. It's listener-requested, so you dictate the course of these broadcasts. Say you want to hear anything, really. Send me an email. Email to vorwinfo@gmail.com, and your song will get played. It'll get played. So it's a unique broadcast. You can hear it on Shortwave Radio, you can hear it on TuneIn Radio, you could hear it on SoundCloud, whatever it may be. There's a wide variety of ways to hear it, and it's every Thursday. Every Thursday is the date. Sorry, I feel like I'm hopping around like a chicken with its head cut off. There are a lot of flies out there flying around. See, the heat doesn't bother me, but if you can beat the heat, you still can't beat the insects, and that's where my weakness lies. So anyway, to continue on, the program can be heard every Thursday at a number of times, and it has a good listenership. It's listener funded, so obviously some broadcasts do come and go, and some can get a chance to expand depending on how things come in. But the biggest changes to the broadcast as of late come in two forms. I will be discontinuing 2 broadcasts and at the same time adding 2. So I discontinued 2 and then I added 2. And there's some rationale behind this decision, to say that first and foremost. The 2 broadcasts, and I sent out the VORW radio newsletter, and for those of you who don't know, let me give a very brief explanation right now. The VORW radio show is broadcast to an audience, of course online, on SoundCloud and live streaming on TuneIn Radio, and it could be also on your phone on the TuneIn app. But it can also be heard in various parts of the world on Shortwave Radio. And I talk about this all the time, so I'm sure a number of you know what that is, but maybe some people are listening for the first time, you don't know what Shortwave Radio is. What Shortwave Radio is, think of it very similar to AM radio in a sense. You know, it sounds in terms of audio quality a lot like AM radio, for instance. If you'd like, I can find a shortwave station right now. I have my radio with me, and you can see really what it sounds like in terms of audio quality. See, the signal can be pretty clear, but it kind of sounds like AM radio a little bit. Now, putting the audio quality aside, one reason why shortwave radio is still used is because these signals can travel extraordinary distances. So say I have a radio transmitter in Florida, for instance. I can, with a certain antenna, transmit this broadcast to South America, and it will be audible throughout the entire continent of South America. I can beam this broadcast to Africa. It'll be heard in the entire African continent. To Europe, it should be heard there. To North America. You can cover these extraordinary distances utilizing shortwave radio. You might say, well, that sounds pretty neat. But who still uses it exactly? I mean, doesn't the internet kind of defeat the purpose of shortwave radio in terms of transferring information across those distances? Well, there's 2 types of audiences that I'm trying to reach through these shortwave broadcasts. Number 1, you have the general listening audience. Actually, 3 types of people. You have this is the largest, yet I think the silent majority, you can say, in terms of that. People who reside in the developing world, for instance, who perhaps don't have internet access yet. They may live in an area that has been plagued by natural disaster, war, political corruption, poverty, etc. They don't have internet yet. And in order to get, perhaps there may be censorship of the local media or national media, they may have to listen to broadcasts coming from other parts of the world in order to get information and entertainment. Okay, so you have people who listen to shortwave broadcasts, especially in Central South America, Africa, the Middle East, and parts of East Asia as well, East, South, and Southeast Asia, that listen to shortwave radio as their really only means of being able to get news, information, and entertainment from the outside world. And a lot of those people, of course, you don't know, and this is the hardest audience to gauge, of course, because it's tough to know that these people are out there listening, of course. They can't really send you emails, and I don't have a P.O. box yet, so I can't really get letters, but I know that they are out there listening because I've gotten a number of emails from parts of the world that do suggest so. So number one, it's a way to get some of my content and just opinions and just some entertainment out to an audience that could not be reached via YouTube. The second audience is those who have that access to technology. So they have access to YouTube and email and internet and all of that, and they can live in developing countries or developed nations. And they are an audience out there seeking alternative media. It can be they may not like the way certain events are covered in their own country, or they may want other perspectives or opinions. They may want to understand other cultures of the world, or they may just be looking for entertainment programs that you may not be able to find on the AM/FM dial or too easily online. And this audience is the audience I think that contacts me the most in terms of these programs. And again, they may not be found too much on YouTube, but certainly on shortwave they can be reached, and they usually enjoy the programs, but they're mostly located, again, around the world, but especially in the US, and also Japan. They'll tune into the shortwave broadcast as well. They make up a good portion of the listening audience. And number three, radio hobbyists. And this can be, some of these people can almost be damaging in a way, but some can be very good as well. A lot of these people listen to radio stations, I'm not saying everyone, but a number from what I've experienced, will listen to radio stations not really for the content, but to log them down and say they could hear the station. They'll do it, and I've understood this hobby, it's called DXing, and the point is to try to be able to hear faraway radio stations and then write to them that you heard them and try and get some sort of verification of the report in return. And the one problem that I have with a lot of the hobbyists is that they'll write in once and then they'll never listen again once they get what they want. But just because there's a few people that do that, it doesn't give a bad name to everyone. I have some radio hobbyists and ham radio operators that listen to the program every week as well, and listen regularly. So that's not true all throughout, but I have had experiences with a number of people who try and write in and say they listened just to get a freebie and then never listen again. So that's a mixed bag, but there are a lot of good people and good listeners in that group as well. So those are the three groups of people you can really target through shortwave radio, and a lot of them haven't heard of the channel, the Report of the Week otherwise, so it's a way to be able to reach a different and unique audience that's out there. So that's the first thing, and that's why I use these shortwave broadcasts, because they're listened to, and I know it's not going out to nobody, so it's you know, it works out. Now, with that being said, I mentioned some changes to the broadcast, and that's true. There are 4 changes to these transmissions. And if you are impacted of them, I will mention, hopefully, alternate ways you can listen. The first 2 changes are discontinuations, if that's a word, of broadcasts. First and foremost, the transmission on 11580 kilohertz at 4 p.m. Eastern, that's 9 p.m. BST, 20 hours UTC, I believe, to Europe will be discontinued. Now that broadcast is discontinued mostly due to the fact of low response for the broadcast, and also the signal just hasn't been making it that well into Europe. This transmission is with a 100 kilowatt transmitter out of South Florida, and the broadcast is supposed to beam essentially diagonally from Florida into Western Europe and then clip some of North Africa as well. Unfortunately, what's happened with this broadcast is just the way the signals propagate sometimes, is the signal will reach Western Europe very weakly. So unless you have a very professional grade, receiver and antenna, you won't really be able to hear the broadcast. If just a regular listener with just a radio with the little, telescoping whip antenna on it, they wouldn't be able to pick it up that well at all, so they wouldn't really listen. They just hear very weak audio, and then they keep tuning till they find something stronger. That also goes for the listeners in North Africa as well. And rather, this broadcast has been very, very strong on the East Coast of the U.S. For instance, last week, this was supposed to be the final broadcast to Europe. The broadcast received one email from Germany from a listener who reported weak signals and could discern some of the music but none of the talk. And I received an email from a listener in Pennsylvania and another listener in Tennessee who reported exceptionally clear signals. And while it's good that they can tune in the United States, I already have enough broadcasts targeting the U.S. That because they're so out of the target area, it's just not paying off to have a broadcast going to Europe that's being heard by listeners everywhere but the target area. For the most part, just isn't good, and I decided to discontinue that broadcast to save money and be able to direct it to a new service, which I'll talk about coming up. So I mostly just switched that broadcast to try and, just save on the costs, instead of broadcasting to no one, and to redirect the money to broadcast to a listening audience. So that's the first change. The second change may come as a surprise, but there's some logic behind it, and this is more of a temporary change in my opinion. I will also be discontinuing the broadcast on 98.75 kilohertz to East Asia. This broadcast was heard, I believe, at 8 a.m. Eastern. It's 1 p.m. BST. That's, I believe, 12 hours UTC. And it was a broadcast from Tashkent, Uzbekistan, targeting East Asia, specifically Japan. Now, this broadcast had good listenership. It still does, actually. So you might say, well, if the listeners are there, why discontinue it? Well, what I always like to do with these broadcasts, when there is a transmission of mine, I like to try and be able to monitor the signal and observe its audio strength, clarity, and quality, not only utilizing the reports from listeners that I get, but also through my own observations to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the transmitter and that I'm not paying for something that's utterly defective and useless. And that's where the problem came in for this broadcast. The issue that I experienced with this transmission to East Asia, despite the listenership figures is relatively high, these last few weeks I had noticed an issue with the transmitter where it suffered low modulation. I'll provide a very, very simple example of it. When I first started that broadcast to the region, my audio essentially sounded like so, and assuming the microphone isn't screwing me up today, and if it is, sometimes it has this very frequent clicking sound, and if it does that, I'm gonna take this and just... No, I don't want to anger it. I don't want to say that. I'm just gonna keep the fingers crossed that it's not. If it is, this whole thing is wasted. Assuming there's no issues or defects of the microphone today, the standard broadcast, when I began it, essentially had audio like so, and I know it's not the greatest quality, but think of it that you could clearly understand what I was saying, right? You could follow it. It's listenable. But over the last 3 weeks or so, I would say, the broadcast instead began to sound like this, where you can kind of understand what I'm saying, but it sounds a little tough to follow. It sounds kind of suppressed, and you could obviously tell that something is different. That's a very simple example, but there was an issue that happened with the transmitter that was being used, apparently, where it began to suffer from low modulation. And what that effectively does, not to get too technical, is it distorts the audio in a way where the signal is still strong, but the audio now begins to sound a lot quieter and muffled. So instead of just me talking, it sounds like me talking essentially talking through a tin can, or talking with my hand over my mouth. And listeners began reporting that it was tough to follow some of the broadcast because of that low modulation. So I decided, well, alright, when it came to start managing things for the month of June, I said, forget this. I'm gonna pull it. I'm gonna stop it, because I'm not gonna spend because it's the most expensive broadcast to run to. I'm not gonna spend all this money here for nothing, for a low quality transmission. So I sent out the newsletter, and I'm gonna work perhaps hopefully later this month, to set up a new broadcast to the same region but from a different transmitter site. Specifically, I'm having my eyes on 2, perhaps 3. There's a transmitter site in Sri Lanka that is, to the south of India, and I believe that broadcast can just beam a little northeast and hit Japan pretty well. There was also the idea to get a transmitter in Tajikistan and broadcast that as well to the same region. It would be pretty much the same beam and everything that the last one had. There was also an idea, this was suggested by a Japanese listener, to utilize a transmitter on the island of Palau, I believe that's the name, P-A-L-A-U. And they broker airtime mostly to religious stations, though, and my program can't really be considered a Christian program. It's just a variety show. But they do broker to other clients too. They broker to some international broadcasters, so perhaps I can get something with them as well. But those are the current ideas, and this broadcast isn't cheap. It's the most expensive one, but it has some listeners to it as well. So I don't want to give up on it right now, because I don't want to leave people in the dark, and I suspect there is also a good amount of people, especially in parts of Western China and Central Asia and remote Russia, that were tuned in as well, since the signals were very strong there, so I don't want to leave all these people in the dark. So I'm going to try and orchestrate something out with that, and get that set up. Secondly, we got those changes out of the way. Now there's some positive news as well. There's some positive changes to the broadcast as well, because I removed those 2. I was able to set up 2 additional broadcasts. The first, and I've talked about this for a while on the shows, I've established a transmission to Western North America. It is at 8 p.m. Eastern, so I believe that's 5 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Mountain, I believe. If my time is incorrect, let me know. But it's at 8 p.m. Eastern every Thursday, and it's on the frequency of 7730 kilohertz. That's 7730 kilohertz. And this broadcast is specifically directed to our listeners really across the western U.S., specifically in, New Mexico, Arizona, Utah, Colorado, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho. Did I already say Nevada? If not, Nevada. And also specifically to our listeners in California, Oregon, Washington, and in Western Canada as well. There's a good amount of people who have sent me emails who write that they have shortwave radios and would like to listen, but the signals are usually just rather weak on the West Coast, so I said, okay, well, I'm going to therefore establish a service to you all. So as I discontinued the broadcast on 11,580 kilohertz, I've started up this program now to the same region now, or to Western North America in its place. That is, for all the listeners who are interested in tuning in, they now have a service of their own. It's at 8 p.m. Eastern every Thursday. 7730 kilohertz is the frequency for you. I'm sure there'll be people tuned in those regions. There are already a few people who were able to tune into that broadcast, and I'm sure there's people out there who again can't contact me yet, but that's a broadcast to Western North America that has been established. Finally, our last change, I've also added a transmission every Sunday at the time of 6 p.m. Eastern. That's 6 p.m. Eastern time on the frequency of 7490 kilohertz. That is mostly to listeners in Eastern North America, specifically the Northeastern U.S., Midwest, and Mid-Atlantic regions. And you could also hear that on TuneIn, but that's just a repeat of the Thursday show. For listeners who didn't get a chance to tune in on Thursday, or just, they can't get enough of the VORW content, so you can listen again, I know I say that sarcastically, but if you'd like to, there's a chance now you can listen on the radio for a second time. And that broadcast has been going for a few weeks, but there's been listeners, and they reported it. They reported the signals best, mostly in New York State, of all things. I had some listeners in upstate New York, Long Island, northern New Jersey, but listeners as far west as St. Louis, Missouri, picked it up too. So that broadcast is a repeat, but that's Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. That's just a repeat show. I found out something interesting. I don't put this into my schedules, but this is an interesting thing. I think it's worth mentioning. If you remember, ending in late March, I had a temporary transmission at 6 a.m. Eastern, beamed to Western North America. So mind you, that would be the area where the signal is at its strongest would be 4 a.m. 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. It's where the signal is at its absolute strongest point. And I had beamed at this area. The signal was extremely strong in Western North America, but I was hoping for it to be able to keep traveling beyond Western North America and into East Asia to try and reach listeners in Japan that way. And it hit the area, but it wasn't strong enough, so that's why I switched to a different site. And I ended broadcasts. I stopped updating the file there, I stopped paying for it, and that was that. Well, for the last, let me think now, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm just looking, 5, 6, for the last 8 weeks, apparently my show at 6 p.m. Eastern being beamed, to Western North America in the middle of the night, has kept getting replayed over and over and over again on this frequency of 5850 kilohertz at 6 a.m. It's the same exact show. It's you know, it's the last program I sent them in late March. So that show just keeps getting, it's been replayed 8 times now. Probably this Thursday it's going to be 9 times. So it's 6 a.m. every, 6 a.m. or if you're in the target area, 3, 4 a.m. every Thursday morning, you can turn on your radio and listen on 5850 kilohertz, and you'll hear the same show from late March, early April. I think it was late March. Every single week, the same exact show over. It'll just be a never-ending repeat, I guess, until it gets updated. But it's been 8 weeks now with the same same show. So I think that's a little interesting thing that just keeps going, never ending. I don't know if there's anyone that listens to that broadcast regularly, I mean, if anyone does, they're just sitting there listening to the same show every single week, but maybe there are. Maybe there's someone out there, I don't know, in the New Mexico desert that just listens to the same show every single early Thursday morning. I don't know. I don't know who tunes into it or not, but every so often I'll get an email from a listener who says they heard it, so I know they keep replaying that show. So I just find that rather interesting. I'm not paying for it, so it's just this old repeat keeps getting aired, I guess, for free. So if you want to tune in to that one, you can. 5850 kilohertz, it's an old show, so if, you want to listen to 2 different shows on shortwave in the same day, you can tune into one that's from late March, and you can enjoy that content. It's got, I've listened to that same repeat now about 6 times or so on shortwave, and you'll find a good mix of everything. You'll find, let's see, you'll find some let me think about the music. I play the song As Tears Go By. I think that's from the Rolling Stones, if I'm not mistaken. I apologize if it's a different band. I'm just going off the top of my head. I play some Def Leppard, song Promises. I play the song Tea and Sympathy from the Comedians. I play some old Judy Garland from the 40s. What else is there? Some 70s music, something a little more contemporary. I mean, I've almost got the playlist of that show memorized because I hear it every single week now, every single weekday morning, or every single Thursday morning, I should say, and it just keeps going. So if you want to listen to an old show there, you can go ahead. I give a talk about citing your sources at the beginning. If you want to listen to that on shortwave, you can tune into that too. It's not an official broadcast, as I figure it'll stop getting played at some point or another. But enjoy it while it's still there and still getting transmitted every week, every Thursday. So there's that for you. I just found that interesting. It'll be exceptionally clear if you're on the West Coast as well. If you're in New Mexico, Arizona, specifically, maybe Colorado as well, maybe even the Pacific Northwest too, but you can give it a tune in if you'd like. It's it's an old show, but it's something, it could be new in a sense. You may not have heard that show, but that's just some food for thought there. I think that's all that I have to talk about when it comes to that now. I think I've exhausted all the other topics. I figure, I guess it's just worth to mention the other frequencies since I'm still talking about it, right? If you do want to listen, the updated schedule, and this will just be in Eastern time now, you can listen every Thursday at the time of 6 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Eastern on 9955 kilohertz to South America, Central America, and the Caribbean as well, but it could be, that signal can be audible elsewhere. At the time of 8 p.m. Eastern, you can tune in on the frequencies of 7490, 93.95 kilohertz to Eastern North America. At 8 p.m. as well, you can tune in on 94.55 kilohertz. If you're in Central America or the Southwestern U.S., you can tune in on that frequency, 94.55 kilohertz. And if you're in Western North America, you can tune in on 77.30 kilohertz shortwave. And VORW is also transmitted every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern on 74.90 kilohertz for the Eastern North American listeners. Now, I'm going to shut up about this very, very soon, but I know I said I was going to talk about this, and I don't want to. I just got the idea. If you are in one of the two areas impacted by the loss of these shortwave transmissions, specifically, let me look. Specifically in East Asia or Europe, there are some alternate ways to listen. Now, if you're in East Asia, unfortunately, there's no real good frequency that will be able to reach you. So for shortwave listeners there, unfortunately, there's, I hate to say, but no other option to listen. But if you have access to a computer, I highly suggest that you listen on TuneIn, or you follow the SoundCloud streams as well, and just keep an eye on the email, because I will send out another email newsletter later in the month to provide the updated shortwave frequency to East Asia when the transmissions resume. If you're in Europe, however, there still is a good chance you can listen to the shortwave broadcasts. Number one, I believe you will have a decent chance of being able to hear the transmission to South America on 99.55 kilohertz at 6 p.m. Eastern, so I highly recommend you give that frequency a try. And I think you will also have some luck trying to hear the broadcasts to North America on 74.90 kilohertz and especially 93.95 kilohertz in parts of Western Europe as well. I especially suggest if you're in Ireland or the UK or coastal parts of France, Spain, Portugal, I think you'll have a good chance of being able to pick up those transmissions as well. Of course, so if you have an internet connection, you could always tune in on TuneIn or listen on SoundCloud and stay updated for the latest newsletter as well. If you want to be added to the newsletter to get updates, detailed updates, usually on a monthly basis, sometimes once every 2 months, about the VORW radio broadcasts, please send me an email at vorwinfo@gmail.com. That's vorwinfo@gmail.com. And let me know that you want to be signed up for the newsletter, and I'll include you in the email list next time. I have it, of course, in such a way that it's blind carbon copy, so no worries, no one else can see your address. Now, that being said, I have no more topics that I want to cover. And I've exhausted a good hour's worth of speech, so I think I got everything serious that I wanted to talk about out of the way. So coming up next, just some miscellaneous discussion. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. I think you can noticeably tell that there's a difference immediately in environment where this session is being recorded. That's understandable. Admittedly so, it is a different day and time. As a matter of fact, it is now nighttime. Some storms have passed by, and the temperature has significantly dropped to a comfortable, very comfortable, 70 degrees. Humid, but comfortable. So that being said, I see nothing wrong with recording in a piecemeal fashion. I believe the final product is really what matters the most. And as I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with recording in segments, because they'll all be edited together, and what you'll be hearing is just the one final segment. And I don't think there's any issue with that at all. A couple of things. Number one, there are some letters that I do want to read, but please be mindful. Be mindful of the continued harassment, unfortunately, but if you have anything on your mind you would like to share, like to be read or responded to in a future program, you can email me via email, repweekinterview1@gmail.com, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Well, a few more things I do want to discuss, but this is now just miscellaneous conjecture. I'm drinking a Coke from McDonald's. A number of things. It's one of those times where I have actually stuff on my mind. Would you believe that? I do, as a matter of fact. But it's where to begin. That is the biggest question of them all. Well, first and foremost, I was looking back upon my old videos in retrospection. I was looking back. I was looking back at them. Because I realized, and sometimes I can't believe I have such a catalog of videos out there. You know, I can't believe I made, what is it now? I don't even know, 500, 600, 700 videos? I have no idea how many videos I have up there on YouTube, but it is a lot. It is quite a lot, as a matter of fact. I was looking back at the videos from 2014. You know, I would many times look upon it as such that 2014 was the best time for this YouTube channel. Could it be a mix of truth and also perhaps just blind nostalgia, perhaps? And there were some good moments of 2014, admittedly. You know, there were some good times. But at the same time, I looked back, I rewatched, and I think this will always be the case. I think this is just how life is. You know, I look back at some VORWs from 2014, some reviews, and I look back at myself, and sometimes I just have to think, you know, there were things about 2014 that I liked, but boy was I ignorant in some ways. Boy was I just deluded in terms of how I thought in regards to some things. You know? I think we all sometimes will think that from time to time. We'll look back at ourselves and think, how could I think that? How could I act like that? You know, how could I do that? But it's just a part of life. It's not to be understood. We're always changing, ladies and gentlemen. We always are. That's just the state of things. We always will be. So, it's completely natural and understandable. But I remember also looking back to some of the reviews, because that was mostly in reference to the VORWs. But I look at some of the reviews I conducted as well. And you know, it's very interesting. It's very interesting to me to look back at these reviews from 2014, now 3 years old or so, and it's just very interesting to me how, well, really, how this has changed, how my channel has changed, how the way I review things has changed. And there's one interesting thing that I've realized. Now, I always, and this is just how things naturally are, I apologize if you hear any noise. I see something here. I can't tell if that's a baby frog or a very large insect. I'm taking a look right now. No, that's a little baby frog. Hello, alright. You do you. I shall continue then. I'll let you do while I lecture. My apologies, there's a little baby frog hopping around and I couldn't tell if it was an insect or if it was a frog, but it's fine, he's a frog. They're fine. Another thing, I don't understand why people, if you say you like frogs, you know, people always nowadays associate that with Pepe and all of that, but you can just like frogs, you know? You can just like frogs, no hidden meaning, no political meaning behind that all. You like frogs, you like frogs. What else is there to it? Now, where was I getting at, though? I was looking at myself back in 2014, and I was watching some of these reviews that I did. And something, you know, it interested me, admittedly. It interested me to look back at these reviews and see how I conducted things. And as I was saying, and then I kind of got distracted for a second, I always, since day one, had intended to put some sort of humor in my videos one way or another. And I can't believe how much it has changed since 2014. In so many ways I never even realized. But I look back to 2014. My goodness. Wow. I think some people might like it. Some people maybe not. I actually got a bit annoyed with one of my own videos, and I kind of got fed up, to be honest. Might be a little confusing at first, but I was watching a video from late 2014. I think it was the mozzarella. I think it was for the mozzarella sticks from McDonald's or something similar. All those videos are pretty much the same. And I got fed up and I had to stop watching it. I got actually annoyed with myself because of some of the humor that I had in that video. I'm not saying it's any better now, but back then I had a heavy reliance on more of like a very direct slapstick style of humor. Nowadays I always like to include a lot of heavily sarcastic, self-deprecating humor in the videos, and some people get it, some don't. Sometimes I'm the only one that gets it because it was a failed joke. But whatever, however it turns out, it is how it is. But back then, as I said, I used to use a lot more very direct humor. One of those things was, I think, trying to do things in silly voices and intentional mispronunciations. But I realized, I think at that point, that it was way too much now that I look back upon it. I'll provide an example, for instance, how I would review something now and how it was essentially back then. Let's say we're talking about the mozzarella sticks from McDonald's, and I don't believe that's a menu item anymore. Maybe it is, and if it is, I apologize for the false information there. But let's say, for instance, so I'll give a mock review right now, how I would do it today. I wasn't going to do the intro, but I will for those of you who want to hear it, okay? 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone! This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone who is in attendance. This is Running on Empty Food Review. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today's review is for a fairly new item from McDonald's. It's their mozzarella sticks. And you might say, well, mozzarella sticks from McDonald's, you know, I didn't... Anyway, you see how that's going. It can go on and on. Make a pun about the quality, whatever. Back in 2014, how I would review it would be something... I'll just give a quick example. So today's review is for the mozzarella sticks from McDonald's. And it would be something like that, where every single sentence, multiple words therein, would have these intentional mispronunciations. I would be putting an overemphasis, too much emphasis on a certain word, saying it in a silly voice. I think that's fine, but I would do it so many times. I mean, dozens and dozens and dozens of times, every single video. And it annoyed me greatly. You know, it did. So it's just so interesting to me how that has changed so significantly. And it's just, it's interesting to me, that's all. The change I didn't even recognize until just the other night when I was going through these old videos. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, my goodness. You know, that's been an interesting change, alright. I can't believe, I don't know when I stopped doing that exactly, but it was just some interesting interesting observations, you know. There's one thing from 2014 that really hasn't changed. Because it seems as though the way I almost conduct some business of the channel has changed. Certainly the way I look at things has changed. But my style, that hasn't changed, the way I dress. If anything, the way I dress currently was really solidified in 2014 and has not changed since then at all. You know, it hasn't at all. You know, back in 2014, that's when I started only wearing pleated pants and suits from the 90s, and also wing collars and imperial collars and some Edwardian attire as well. And that I still wear today. I mean, as I give this lecture right now, I'm wearing some blue pants and jacket with a tan long raincoat. Some people would call it a trench coat because it's in the same color, but it's not double-breasted, it's just a single-breasted raincoat. And I have that with a white wing collar shirt and a blue tie, 4 in hand. And it's like a, you know, an Edwardian era outfit. You know, I'm wearing that right now, and what I wear now, those tastes were essentially solidified in 2014, and that's when I came to realize what I enjoy wearing. But I mean, if, you know, some people like to think, well, obviously you don't really think highly of people who don't dress like this, right? Well, no, not at all. If you want to wear a extreme slim fit suit, I don't mind. If that's what makes you happy, that's what makes you happy. I encourage it. Go for it, you know? If you want to wear a, I don't know, insert garment of choice here, wear it, you know? I pose no objection. Wear what makes you happy. Wear what you'd like to wear. That's why I wear these outfits. You know, that's why I wear a tie every day, and why I sometimes dress like it was 100 years ago. I wear it because I find contentment in it. I'm happy wearing it. And you should do the same. You should wear whatever you find happiness wearing. Don't just wear a suit because you know, I don't know why people would think I would think that sometimes. Everyone else should wear a suit. No, I just wear a suit because that's what I enjoy wearing. If I don't know, if you want to rock the 80s jean jacket, go for it. You know? As I said, just wear whatever you want. You want to wear a fedora? Go for it. Doesn't matter to me. I'm not judgmental. Go for it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to VORW, the voice of the report of the week. Right now I'm just discussing miscellaneous topics and thoughts. So that's where we are right now. And I was just looking at things in retrospection. When I think of how I dressed in 2013, that was quite different. There was actually one turning point. I've never talked about this before, so here comes some new info for everyone who wants to keep track of this. So get the pen and paper ready, because you're going to get some new, never before seen, newly released info. Back in 2013, I had, of course, well, the way I dressed was different than 2014. It was actually a completely different style, what I wore. Because from 2013 to 2014, I had some very important realizations when it comes to clothing, especially menswear. In 2013, my emphasis was on colors and patterns. Meaning, if I saw two individuals standing side by side, and one was wearing a brand new black suit from 2013, and the other was wearing a black suit from 1993. what would I be drawn to first? And assume one is wearing, say the person in the new suit's wearing a white shirt and a red patterned tie, and the one on the right is wearing a blue shirt with a white contrast collar and white cufflinks and a green pattern tie. What would I notice about those outfits if it were me in 2013? Well, I would just notice the pattern of their ties, the color of the suit, and the color of the shirt, and that's it. I wouldn't notice the styles of the suit, jacket length, width of the pants, whether they're pleated, whether they're cuffed, all of those things. I wouldn't pick up on those. Just wouldn't be there. I just focused on patterns and colors. And because of that, because I didn't pick up on anything more specific, really, in terms of menswear, in 2013, I was wearing a mix of everything. All the older clothing that I wore, it was actually a little bit of an issue. In 2013, I had older suits that I was wearing from 2010 or so that were, in a more traditional style. They were 3-button, if you remember when the 3-button suits were very big in the mid-late 2000s. I was wearing 3-button suits with pleated pants and a double-breasted suit with pleated pants. But they were starting to kind of get a little worn out because I would wear them all the time, and they were also not starting to fit right anymore. So I needed to start getting new clothing in my wardrobe. And of course I would just go down to, whatever, Men's Warehouse, you name it, and pick up whatever they had kind of off the rack back in 2013. And I had a new black suit that I bought, which was in a much more modern style, flat front pants, more form-fitting, thinner lapels. I got some sport coats. Again, not quite something I would wear today. Jacket was just a little too short for my liking right now, probably too tight, and the lapel's just too thin for what I would wear. And, that's what I picked up and that's what I wore, because again, I wasn't really focusing on the stylistic aspects. I was rather just focusing on, okay, this is a black suit. This is a bluish pattern sport coat, and I could wear that with a bluish tie. And I was focusing on those aspects instead. I think you get the point. You might ask, well, I think it's obvious from what you're saying that you were almost starting to embrace the modern fashion and menswear trends back in the year 2013, so what led to such a complete 180-degree opposite? And this is where the new information comes in, and I realize that now. It was just after Christmas of 2013, so it was the new year of 2014. And I got a gift card as a gift from some relatives for, it was either Men's Warehouse or Joseph A. Bank. I mean, I know they're the same exact thing. I don't even know I think one of them closed down at this point. I don't even know. Oh, but I got a gift card for one of them. And I was interested in buying a suit. And I was going to purchase a gray double-breasted suit. It was a gray double-breasted suit, and I was going to buy it off their online store. And the reason why I was going to get a double-breasted suit was, number one, I wanted another one, because the older one that I had was, again, starting to get worn out, the color was starting to fade a little bit, and I wanted a replacement for it, really. I was going to get this double-breasted suit from this modern retailer, and obviously, had I gotten that suit, it would have been in a more modern style, Probably would have been flat front, it would have probably had a shorter jacket, etc. This is just when the slim fit was really starting to get trendy and everyone was selling it now, so of course it was going to be a lot slimmer. So I ordered the suit, and a few days later I got a message saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, we just found out it was out of stock. Would you like to get an alternative?" And this is what decided it, and this is really the defining moment of how I discovered that I do enjoy these fashions from the 90s instead. When they asked if I'd like another suit, I was a little fed up at the moment, and I declined, and I said I'd just be interested in getting my money back. And I was just fed up, and I got the money back for that card, and I eventually returned it and got a refund of got the money. And I decided, I'm going to take this money, and I'm just going to buy a suit someplace else. I was shopping around online. Might have even been, Suit Supply or something. And I found this one double-breasted suit. And again, I was still just focusing on colors and patterns here. But it was a nice suit. It drew me in. It was a dark gray, double-breasted suit with white pinstripes. I still actually have this suit. It still fits me. And I still wear it to this day, though it's... but you might remember it. I still would wear it rather frequently. Double-breasted suit, gray with a very pronounced white pinstripes on it. I was looking and I saw this suit, and the pattern on it, this gray and white pinstripe, really drew me in, and I thought, that's a good suit, and I'm going to get it. And I bought it. I got it, and I tried it on. And again, mind you, for like the 20th time, I had only focused before this not on how the suit fit or anything, but how it, just how it looked in terms of colors, blah, blah, blah. You know the drill now. Oh, I tried it on, and it was the most comfortable suit I ever had worn. I mean, it was so comfortable to me. And that day, I remember I was wearing the black modern suit. I just changed out of that and put on this new gray suit. And I didn't realize that this suit was from the 1990s just yet. I didn't realize that. But it was so comfortable. The legs were obviously considerably wider cut. The fabric was very smooth. It was drapey. It was pleated, creased, cuffed, had a long jacket. Just much more of a traditional roomy cut than a new suit would have. And I tried it. I thought to myself, wow, this is just so comfortable. This is just so comfortable. I can just lounge in this. I could fall asleep in this. And I sitting down, it was just so comfortable, and I couldn't get over that. And that's when I started examining the fit of suits more. And I started thinking, I really like this, and I want to get more suits that are like this one, because quite frankly, I like how it looks. I was very pleased with how it looked. I like the style of it, and I really like how this fits too. And I decided, well, I want to get more like this. So, what does this suit have that the others don't? And that's when I started examining the characteristics of it. How the pants were wide leg, how they had pleats, at least 2 pleats per side, how they had a noticeable crease, usually cuffed, how the jacket was longer cut, wider lapels, and just more fabric overall, and how it just had a smooth drape throughout. And I started looking up those suits, and I started realizing, all the suits from the 1980s and 90s and even early mid-2000s are in this style. I want to get more of those because I've realized what I enjoy wearing and what I like. And that's how I discovered that I really do enjoy wearing more traditional menswear compared to modern cuts and fits. But it's interesting to think, if Joseph A. Bank had that one suit in stock, who knows what I'd be wearing right now? It might be totally different, It was completely accidental that I discovered what I really do like in terms of menswear, because they were out of stock of that one modern suit that I wanted, and I got fed up and returned the gift card and bought a more traditional one inadvertently. So, it was just an interesting series of events, and it's just very interesting how it all worked out. You could call it a happy accident that I was able to find what I really did enjoy in terms of menswear. So I thought that was just something interesting to mention. I'm going to check this recorder and see if it's still recording, which it hopefully is. Ladies and gentlemen, this is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Well, with those two topics out of the way, what else is there to discuss? Well, let's see. We talked about the suits, and we talked about 2014. What else is there? Gonna take a brief pause while I collect my thoughts. Two things more. Number one, I would go ahead and say this is fairly recent. I recommend you all listen to, I apologize if I'm really contradicting myself here, because the one problem when I record these programs in a piecemeal section, and that's, essentially what I mean by piecemeal is, I record an hour one day, and then an hour another day, and then an hour the day thereafter, and I combined it all together into a good show. But the one issue that does come about when I record things in that way is the fact that sometimes I lose track of what I said, so I really sincerely apologize if I'm contradicting myself here. Now, at the time that I did record the last show, the VORW that was uploaded on SoundCloud, the radio show, was the one focusing on the Manchester fake news hoax involving me. But I also, in the newest one, I really focus on consumer complaints and the importance thereof, and a lot of times how society discourages speaking your mind if you receive something that these companies need to know about. And I specifically mention that in regards to the absolutely terrible, disgusting disgrace of a sandwich that I received at McDonald's a while back. The signature crafted sandwich, you maybe remember the review of that. It was terrible. There was nothing good I can say about that piece of chicken, and it was the worst chicken sandwich I've ever eaten in my life. I say that with every regard. It was the absolute worst. And it was so bad, I decided to do something that I had almost never done before. I decided to give a complaint to McDonald's corporate, because I was that disgusted by it. I thought to myself, no other customer should ever eat something this bad. It was terrible. And in this latest VORW radio program, because in the radio shows I give, for the first 10 minutes I usually give a little lecture. I think I already said that. But in that one I talk about the importance of speaking your mind to some of these companies if you receive something terrible, that you really have nothing to fear. And even though sometimes society will portray a negative image upon making a complaint or giving feedback to a company, there's really nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to be fearful of when it comes to that. So I highly recommend you give it a listen. You can hear it on SoundCloud, and again, if you have the time, I recommend you do just give it a quick listen, even just for the first 10 minutes. You can find that on SoundCloud in the description. And now on a final note, really, of what I wanted to talk about. Well, there's a final topic I'd like to discuss, and then there's a number of letters I would like to read. Some people feel self-conscious talking about their hobbies and interests and what they do, but I have no shame. I mean, I listen to Shortwave Radio for fun, for crying out loud. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with your hobbies and what you like to do to pass the time. I decided fairly recently, and it's interesting. I've I learned something from it. I did. Long ago, I'm talking about 5 years ago, I used to play an online computer game called RuneScape, and it was something to do. It was something to it was a good time occupier. I found it fun. I would promote the YouTube channel, the very early YouTube channel, to some people in the game, and because of that, someone who learned about it from there posted it on Reddit, and that's what got the channel to its how it is right now. It was actually more important than I thought. But I enjoyed it, and then I discovered Shortwave Radio, and I essentially fell out of favor with that, and I stopped it, and focused on the channel. But I decided to check back into it, I decided to just see how it was, and just why not, right? Sometimes if you haven't done something for a long time, you just want to check back, see how it is, see if anyone you used to know is still around and whatnot. And I went back, logged in for the first time in a long while, and boy, was I startled by a few things. Number one, there aren't as many people around anymore that play. Well, that's understandable, everything changes. Number two, the amount of people spam advertising in-game has really decreased significantly. When I stopped, there were all these real-world trade spammers everywhere, and now I can't find them anymore. I used to like to try and take care of them, and try and do what I could to get rid of them, but can't find them anymore. There was one thing that I did discover was still very much rampant, and I'd like to give a short talk about this to anyone who's just interested, especially if you do play the game, because I've noticed a lot of these people are on hacked accounts, meaning people fell for this scam, which is sad. And just just as general interest, to let you know that some people actually still do this stuff in online games. If you consult Figure 1 right here, you can get, a picture says 1,000 words. Obviously, in this game, RuneScape, it's interactive. You could play with a lot of other players. You can communicate with them in the chat here. And on occasion, you'll find people like this one spam advertising something in the chat. And it simply reads, giving such and such amount of money away to whatever, people in a giveaway or in the comments or whatever. And they say to search this channel on YouTube. If you ever see someone, if you play this game and you ever see someone advertising this, I don't mean to sound like someone who's all, but just report them. I mean, immediately. These people are the worst type of scammer you can think of for people who legitimately play the game. The worst kind. If you see anyone advertising a YouTube channel for a giveaway, they will scam you, and they will hack your account. Report them for scamming, website advertising, because it's terrible. That's all I can say. It's absolutely terrible. If you go to this YouTube channel, I'm sure it'll be gone by the time I upload this, because they get taken down fairly quickly, but they'll make a new one. Guaranteed. You'll find this piece of garbage video. It's one of 3 videos usually. It's either some extremely blurry video with some guys. It was some guy's video that they stole and just blurred out. And the guy said, "I'm quitting and I'm going to college and blah blah blah, and I want to give this giveaway." There's another one where the guy just says in the comments, "My mic broke," and it's another video that they stole from some other YouTube channel. And there's a third one of some really idiotic rap track in the background that's, again, very blurry. And they'll show you these videos that are allegedly showing all this, you know, in-game money that they're going to give away to you, you know. And it's very obviously just someone else's video they stole to use for their own scam. And what it'll do is it'll say, follow the link in the comments below to get to this forum thread where you can post your username and why you want this money, right? Sounds harmless enough, right? Some generous in-game philanthropist quitting and wants to give a nice slither of wealth, a nice little slice of wealth to everyone, and oh, it's just great, right? You're just gonna give a comment here in this forum thread, and I'll get my money, and I'm gonna be rich, and it's gonna be great, right? Well, first and foremost, if you look at the link, I mean, you should see, it does not lead you to RuneScape.com. It leads you to RuneScape, RuneScape.vs.nl or something like that, or RuneScape.us-rw, or something along those lines, where it's a cleverly disguised website to try and make it seem as though you're getting to the legitimate site when you're not. You click on this website and it looks like the legitimate RuneScape website, and it prompts you to log in with your username and password. You do that, it will say, as additional verification, please enter your in-game bank PIN. And what that is, it's a 4-digit code that is there to try and protect, all of your in-game valuables should someone hack your account. They wouldn't know this little code, and it'll prevent you from losing that. Well, they want to know that too as an additional security measure. If you enter that, it'll redirect you from their fake site to the legitimate forums of the game, where it says this thread has either expired or been deleted. And what they hope is for players to think, oh, well, the thread wasn't there, I missed out, oh well. They continue playing, then they log off for the night, and what happens? Well, they gave all their in-game information, their login info, and their bank PIN to these hackers. They'll just hack your account. You go off to sleep, they'll hack your account. They have the bank PIN, they'll take all your in-game items, get rid of them, completely clean your account out. Everything you worked so hard for is gone. Once that's cleaned out, transferred to another account, whatever, it's gone from your possession. That's the only important thing. They'll take your account and then use your account to continue advertising their scam to other unsuspecting players. And eventually a moderator will mute the account, and they'll just throw it away, move on to the next one they hacked. You'll get it back, and everything will be lost, and there's nothing that you can do to get it back. And everything you worked for is gone. Oh, I beg of you, I implore you, if you play this game and you see anyone, doesn't matter who they are, if they're a low-level spam bot or if they're an extremely high-level experienced player, they're all hacked, for the most part. You might say, but it's on a members world. Of course, it's a hacked account that has membership on it. I implore you, though, if you see anyone there advertising these fake YouTube giveaways, and it's in old school and RS3, I mean, I beg of you, please, just they're out to get you. They're out to hack your account, and whatever you do, don't give them any information. Report it, ignore it, and if you really want, you can go and actually report the video on YouTube for scams and fraud, and it will get taken down in due time. But I've seen so many hacked accounts. I mean, every day I see so many. And it's so sad to see all these people, probably, could be anyone, but probably especially kids, who were just doing this for fun, and they worked up to get this, and, there they are. They got hacked, and they lost all their items, and it's sad to see it, really, It's sad to see. And I'm talking about this, it might seem like an old scam, and it's obviously initiated in the real world, too. I mean, I'm sure you've gotten at one point or another a fake email from PayPal, right? saying that whatever from your quote-unquote bank, from some company you shop at, saying there's an issue with your account and you need to do this and that, or it's in violation of getting shut down, or there's suspicious activity, and it wants you to put your info for that. That's no different, except they're trying to get, your credit card info or your PayPal info or whatever. So that's the classic, they call it a phishing scam, P-H-I-S-H-I-N-G, and it's something that really needs to be brought about, because it's not just something that'll happen, it'll happen in these games too. It'll happen in those, absolutely. Now again, I'll say it one last time, if you ever see anyone in that game, RuneScape, just advertising one of these YouTube giveaways, there's nothing good that will ever come about it. There is no such giveaway, none whatsoever. They're just out there to hack your account, and they will do irreversible damage to everything you've worked for. And it's a problem, and hopefully it will one day get stopped. Hopefully there'll be enough people out there mindful of the community, and hopefully try to get rid of these scammers and hackers and put an end to it once and for all. But until then, I think public awareness is key. And that's just something that I really did notice, and I thought should be brought attention to, at least. Well, with that being said, I think we're going to move on to letters. If you do want to write in, if you have any comments, questions for me, or any statements or feedback on any of the things I talked about in this show, or just any questions for future shows, you can email me at wrong email, I'm so used to saying that in the radio show. You can email me at repweekinterview1@gmail.com, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Alright, folks, that said, we'll get set up. I don't know how many emails there are to read. A number, I would presume. So, if you'll give me a minute, I'm going to set this up, and I'll be right back. This is VORW, the voice of the Report of the Week. Okay, so picking up where we left off here, let's get to the letters. Now, one thing does need to be expressed, of course. I should say two things before we fully get into reading these letters. Thing one is that I cannot guarantee your letter. Hey, look at that. There's a cat. Listen, there it is. Hey, kitty, kitty. Here, kitty, kitty. Hello. Can you hear its little meow there? Hi. Hi. I'm sorry, the person you're looking for isn't there. I know. No, he's not there today. I'm sorry. But you can listen to me give a VORW if you want. It's a little orange cat. Yeah, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, the kitten you're looking for isn't present today. I apologize. What was that? You listen to VORW too? On the shortwave? No way, really? What frequency? 7490? Yeah, I expected that. Yeah, that's the frequency that comes in best around here. You have a song you want to request? You just let me know you tuned in. Just let me know? Okay. Well, if you have a song you want to hear, just let me know, come back around this time tomorrow night or so, just before Thursday, and, okay, you got it? Sounds good. Sorry, a, kitten friend stopped by and was letting me know that, she was tuned into the shortwave broadcast on 7490, but she didn't have a song request yet. But I said, if you do, just stop by, let me know, and that's that. Now what I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that it can't be guaranteed that you will hear your song request. Oh boy, I was talking about song requests and then I'm so used to saying that. I can't guarantee you'll hear your letter read in this VORW program. And the reason being, of course, is because for consolidation purposes, I've established a quota of letters. So I will read perhaps 20 or so in this show. And if yours just doesn't make the cut, please know I don't have anything personally against you. It's just how things worked out. And secondly, and it is my obligation to say so, there are no hidden subliminal messages in this program for you. I'm not communicating directly to you unless you are being addressed in a letter. Of course, I am talking to you, but I am addressing a general listening audience as well. The only time I'm talking to you is if I do address you in a letter. With that being said, if you have a letter for this program, you can send it to repweekinterview1@gmail.com. repweekinterview1@gmail.com. A first letter. Dearest Lecturer, I haven't written in for a while, so I figured it was about time to check in. I'm currently in group therapy, which is very strange but interesting, and we've been learning a lot about mindfulness, which is a technique to reduce anxiety and negative thoughts by focusing your attention on one thing, usually something sensory. I realize that one of the reasons I enjoy your videos so much is that they are a perfect mindfulness exercise. I can listen to you discussing food, energy drinks, shortwave radio, basically anything I can completely focus on instead of spiraling off into my default negative thought patterns. I recall that you once cited Fred Rogers as an inspiration for on-camera demeanor, and I recently watched an episode of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood and really picked up on the similarities. It didn't hurt that he was sitting at a table, facing a camera and drinking a glass of milk. And so anyways, I'd like to say thank you for being a consistent, soothing presence in my life, and I like to imagine you as a person who is accepting and non-judgmental. I have a lot of tattoos and currently green hair, and people frequently shoot me disapproving looks, and even though I know myself to be a reasonable, smart person, I don't think the general population assumes this about me. I think it's interesting that people judge you for something that is almost the opposite, for wearing traditional, proper, and formal clothing. I hope you are well, and that you never let the world and all its chaotic nonsense get you down. Your fan, Chelsea. Well, thank you very much, and thank you for your letter. I know you've been watching the videos for a long time. I think you've been writing in since 2014, if I do recall, and I hope everything's alright, and I thank you for the kind words. It is interesting, yes, a lot of people do judge me for how I dress. And, you know, they'll get really on my case for wearing an old-style suit, for wearing a collar that isn't seen anymore, you know, for wearing a wing collar or an imperial stand-up collar with a necktie, of all things, and people make fun of me, you know, they'll say, you look like an undertaker, and you're wearing your dad's suit, and this and that, and all these nasty things. And I think people will find anything to criticize, really. If I have... And here's a reason why I don't change for anyone. Because if I took this criticism to heart, and I did something about it, people will find something else to criticize me about. They will. The fingernails are too long. I cut the fingernails. Your suits are too big. They're too outdated. You're dressing like it's from the early 1900s. Update the wardrobe. Your hair looks terrible. Change it. Change the hairstyle. You know, then what? Alright, well, we're running out of things, but oh, your face is all effed up. Well, blow 60 grand on facial surgery. Not good enough. It looks bad. You screwed it up even more, you know. And it'll just go on and on. The way you talk is messed up. Your teeth are messed up. Your tongue looks weird. Your eyelashes are weird. Anything. They will pick anything and criticize it about. So, don't change for anyone. And no, I don't judge. As I said earlier, present yourself as you see it fit, and however it gives you happiness and contentment, however that may be. You be the boss of yourself, not what other people say. That's what I recommend. Our next letter. Have you ever ate a pizza in its entirety in one sitting? Just curious. It's a random question, but the reason of it is because I happen to do it, and it's making me feel terrible about myself. I have. You're not alone. No, not at all. Of course I have. Usually when I eat a pizza, there's actually been a recent predicament I've experienced. Lately, I've been preferring pizzas for casual consumption from Papa John's. That's what it's called, Papa John's. And it's good. I like the quality. Very good quality. But there's one thing when it comes down to I guess when it comes to the deal, because I always like to look for deals on the website, specials, and I try to save money where I can because I haven't won the lottery just yet. And on occasion I'll find a good deal for Papa John's, where it is carry-out only, and that's fine. I don't think there's a dining room in Papa John's anyway, and carry-out, I'm fine with carry-out, it's okay. Where you can get a large 2-topping pizza for $8. Now, some people were arguing in terms of the Little Caesars pizza, the extra most bestest, where it's the best you'll ever get for $6, and that's true. But for $2 more, you can get an excellent quality Papa John's pizza with double pepperoni for just $2 more, which is nothing. It's not $8 more, it's not $12 more, it's $2 more. Well, anyway, I will oftentimes end up getting this large 2-topping pizza, double pepperoni, as I said, from Papa John's, because a medium pizza will oftentimes cost more than that. Would you believe that? Just a medium 1-topping pizza will charge me more than a large 2-topping pizza because of this deal. So I'll oftentimes end up getting a large 2-topping pizza, and I can't eat the whole thing. I can't finish that. I'll eat 4, maybe 5 slices at most, and the rest I'll save. But that's the most I can eat, and that's my meal for the day, obviously. But there have been times when I'm exceptionally hungry, and I'll order a large pie, and I'll eat the whole thing. Don't feel bad about it. Yeah, I think everyone's eaten a lot of food sometimes. Don't worry, I have too, and many other people have as well, so don't feel bad about it, my friend. Let's see, our next letter here. I have the computer positioned here, and then I get up, and I pace around and answer the question, then I sit back down and continue on. Hello, the Report of the Week. My name is Sarah. I'm a new fan of all your content. I have been a fan about a month or so, and I listen to your Shortwave Radio show too, and I've written in once so far to that show. I drew this picture of you a few weeks ago, but wasn't sure if I was going to send it in or anything because I couldn't decide if I liked it. But I listened to your VORW podcast today, and I heard that you weren't feeling very well recently, and I decided to send it in anyway, in hopes that it could maybe make you feel better in any way. I originally drew another picture of you, but I really hated it and threw it away. I am an artist, but I struggle with making things look exactly as they are. My style is drawing surreal, weird images with skeletons or other creatures mixed with religious imagery, hence the Renaissance halo around your head, something I do. So I'm sorry if it doesn't really look much like your face, but I figured I'd send it in anyway, and I've never really had my art featured anywhere before, so it'd be cool if you did that, but only if you want to. Your content has been really helping me feel happier recently, so thank you for that. I hope everything goes well for you. I'll be listening to your radio program on Thursday. I hope you have a good week. Well, thank you very much, and it's great to hear that you listen to the radio broadcast as well. And, no, of course, I'll feature it. That's a nice picture. I appreciate all the effort that you put in. So thank you very much for that, and your piece of fan art will be featured in this VORW show. In terms of how I'm feeling, physically it's hit or miss. You know, as I've been recording these programs, it's intentionally been on good days. You know, it's intentionally been in good days. Always bad thoughts lingering in the back of my mind, always. Worries, etc., you know. You can't get rid of that stuff, but, you know, as I said, there's the good days, and I try and be somewhat resourceful with those. So thank you again for the fan art, it's nice, and it'll be featured in this program. Let's see what we have next. I have a number of letters I want to read. I'm also going to just check and make sure that the microphone's recording still. Still is, okay. So let's see what we have coming up next. Just checking. Okay, here's one. Dear Review Brother, I really love your videos, and it's a pity that you're about to stop broadcasting to Europe. I tuned in a couple of times before, but I am usually either busy or I forget about it, but I plan to start listening regularly during the summer break. Your reasons are understandable, though, and I can always try to listen to it on the internet. I'm sending you my low-quality OC in the attachment that I made after listening to my favorite podcast, Welcome to Night Vale. Feel free to put this in the video. I would really feel honored. I think you might enjoy the podcast as well as the whole story of the show, as it's presented by a bit eccentric radio show host. This brings me to the question: would you ever consider making podcasts of your VORW videos? I love listening to them, and always wish I could listen to them on my travels when I have no internet connection. I also feel you can get some additional revenue out of these tough times on YouTube. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I'm sorry about Willie the cat. Regards, Tom. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. Well, that's nice. I like it. I like the picture. Just took a look at it. I have a few answers, actually, for you. Number one, in terms of broadcasting to Europe. I think I mentioned it earlier, and again, this is the issue with recording in segments. I lose track, but again, I would highly recommend you the frequencies of 93, 95 kilohertz. As a matter of fact, I have a regular listener in the UK. His name is Alan. He tunes in on shortwave, and he lets me know how the signals come in every week there. And he says he listens on 93, 95 kilohertz, and reception is actually better than it was, a lot better than it was on 11.580. So I would highly recommend that you just, if you can afford to do so, I mean, stay up a little late and listen to the broadcast on 93, 95 kilohertz, as I figure that ought to be pretty good for you. So I would recommend that frequency, so you can still tune in, catch it on shortwave, and enjoy that that broadcast via that means, if you'd like to. Now, secondly, and this is in terms of the podcast. I hope to get it maybe as a podcast one day. Right now I'm still trying to get the whole situation with the t-shirts and the like sorted out first. So I have to, once I get that taken care of, then I'll get that off my plate and I'll be able to move on to something else and be able to dedicate a little bit of time to, getting this program perhaps organized as a podcast. But until then, it'll be in the back of my mind, and perhaps in due time that will get taken care of as well. But thank you for bringing that to attention, and I appreciate your feedback. So thank you, Tom. Let's see what else. Where we leave off here. Oh, let's see. Here we go. I'm not sure how to say this without coming off as a weirdo. I stumbled upon your channel last week and absolutely love it. I've been going through each of your reviews and found myself laughing with you. I can't recall which pizza place it was for, but you chopped off a string of cheese and said it was evil, and you had to get rid of it. I laughed out loud at that. Anyway, I watched your video this morning, where you were talking about not feeling well and getting negative comments and being harassed, and that's what prompted me to write this. I feel there are a lot more people like me, people that enjoy listening to you and your reviews, than the handful of jackasses that think it's clever to tear someone down. Keep being you and doing your own thing. If it starts getting to you, remember the huge numbers of polite people that watch and enjoy your channel. Wishing you all the best from Jill. Thank you, Jill. Thank you for your kind words. And, it is. It's something that I need to remember. Oftentimes, a lot of those bad people, unfortunately, can sometimes have a greater impact. But you're right, it cannot be forgotten. All of the nice people that are out there, too, to offset that. And that can never be forgotten. It never can be, and I always have to remember that. And sometimes, when you have times such as what happened most recently, when people are spreading fake rumors about you that are literally, going and getting on international media, it's tough sometimes, but you're right, I have to remember the fact that there's always going to be good people out there too. So thank you for your kind words. Ooh, what's this? I just got a new email just a minute ago from the Italian Broadcasting Corporation. I'm going to read their newsletter right now. Let's see what they have to say. This is the Italian Broadcasting Corporation. Doesn't the name make it sound like they're an official, professional broadcaster? The Italian Broadcasting Corporation. But they're not a government entity. They're a, it's just a radio broadcaster, but they're not government funded. But let's see what their big announcement is. Let's see this. Some news from IBC. We've activated a PayPal account to give everyone the opportunity to help us with donations. Cover the broadcasting. That's understandable. I have to do that with my own show, so it's, I understand. Helps keep them on the air. Our broadcasts in both Italian and English are available daily on FM in the area of Perth, in Australia, from 14 to 16 UTC on the frequency of 77.4 megahertz. So that's odd. In Australia, can you listen to FM on 77 megahertz? I've never been to Australia, so I don't know, but I always thought I have my radio out here. The FM dial here doesn't go that far. It can, goes up to around 87, but not 77. In Australia, can you listen to FM on 77 point something? Are those frequencies there, or? I knew they were frequencies, I think, in FM in parts of Russia, but I didn't think Australia, but perhaps I'm mistaken, so if anyone in Australia can let me know, I'm curious about that. What else? Did he mean... No, it's FM, not 7,400 kilohertz. What else did he say? And then their frequency. So that's all that he had to say. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you. Alright, now on to the next letter here. Greetings, Report of the Week. I'm listening to the new VORW right now, and I'm very sorry to hear about Willie. I just wanted to share a story with you. I'm 29 years old, and I've seen my dad cry once in my life. It wasn't when either of my two younger brothers were born. It wasn't to console my mom when her parents died, and it wasn't even at his own mother's funeral. It was when our first family pet, Henry, had a heart attack and died during a routine visit at the vet. He was a French bulldog, a breed that doesn't have a very long lifespan, so we try to take solace in the fact that we did our best to give him a happy life when he was with us. I've attached a picture of him to this email, and I hope that you're doing your best to hang in there. Best wishes, Stefan. Thank you, Stefan. I do appreciate your email. And it always is tough to lose a pet. It really is. It always is tough, and it's always, it's sad. You're losing a friend. You're losing a friend. And so oftentimes it is sad. And thank you for your understanding. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hello. It's been a while since I wrote you a letter, so I thought I would send you one today. I'm sorry to hear that Willie the cat, it's sad that he had to go like that, but as you said, at least he is immortalized in his video with you. I know that video made me smile, and I'm sure that many other people smile because of it. I hope things are going well with you, and you have an enjoyable summer. Until next time. Well, thank you for your short and kind letter. I appreciate that you're still listening to the VORW shows, as I know that you're a regular listener, so I really do appreciate it. And thank you for your understanding, too. I appreciate that as well, and thank you again for your kind letter. I appreciate it. Hey, John, I'm so sorry to hear about Willie. It's hard to believe that someone could be that cruel, and I just wanted to send my condolences to make sure you're doing okay. Also, I know this is generally around the time of the year that you post the average day videos, and I wonder if we could expect one soon. It's truly a highlight of the channel, in my opinion, and it'll certainly become an annual favorite of mine. Keep giving them hell and hang in there, your old pal Brax. Thank you, Brax. I'm glad that you're still listening, too, and thank you very much. I appreciate it as well. The average day video will be coming up soon. It'll be coming up soon, but it'll be different. Of course it'll be different. I'm in a new setting, and I think the 2018 average day video will be in a new setting as well. It's going to be in a different one than this setting, because right now I'm just moving around, and, you'll find, the next one will be in a different place than this one, I can guarantee that. But it's going to be good. It'll be a good one, it'll be an interesting one, and you'll see that some habits have changed, whilst some have stayed the same. So you'll see that, and of course it will be coming up later this month. Average Day 2017. Okay, let's see what other letters we have. Give me a moment. My next letter. Review Bra. I'm glad you're safe. I'm sure you'll address this in your VORW, but that photo circulating really threw me off. The moment I saw it, I knew it was fake. An Ariana Grande concert in a different country around that many people? Impossible you'd actually be there. Crazy world we live in. I was wondering, have you ever been to a concert? Doesn't seem up your alley, but I'm curious. Also, I saw you did a video on the suits from the basketball draft last year. Were you planning on doing anything similar for the football draft that happened in April? Or possibly another video for the basketball draft this summer? And lastly, do you think there will come a time where you're able to travel out of state to try new foods? Doesn't sound like things have been great money-wise with YouTube lately, but I'd love to see you review some things from Whataburger, which is my favorite restaurant, when I grew up in Texas before I moved to Iowa. Keep on keeping on. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. That's from Ryan. And thank you for your letter. First and foremost, have I ever been to a concert? Well, like an actual, I guess, pop concert. No, I haven't. I haven't been to a rock concert either. Or any concert for that matter. I just haven't. That's just how it is. But there's some people that love concerts, and there's some people that just doesn't appeal to, and everyone has their own different preferences, and that's fine. To answer your questions, I don't cover the NFL draft, but I will cover the NBA draft, the basketball one, and that's another annual thing that happens in late June, where I critique the suits of the upcoming basketball stars that get drafted. And I'll be honest, I don't follow basketball. I don't know who I'm looking at or what any of this is, admittedly, and I have no shame in saying that. I have no idea what I'm looking at, but I pay attention to the suits. And I just like to observe them and discuss the different outfits. And I like to do that on a yearly basis, and 2017 will be no exception to that. So, I don't know, maybe the next VORW, maybe the one, probably the 2 VORWs away, I would guess, you'll get the next criticism, or compliments of the NBA draft. I remember the 2015 one was a disaster. The 2016 one got a little better, and that the colors were a little more subdued, and the players were starting to wear traditional cut suit jackets again, but the pants were still very excessively slim, and there was an abundance of red suits and bow ties. I realized that. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, because a lot of these people are dressed by professional fashion designers. So it's a good way to almost get a look at what's, you know, almost going to start coming in the years ahead, or what's popular now. I mean, it does make sense, actually. Suits will start getting fuller again in terms of cut. But will they ever get to the type that I wear anymore? I don't know. They might still get, you know, still be tapered, but I think jackets and pants will start to get a little fuller cut, in my opinion. I think a lot of other people have said that too. I think pleats on pants are already starting to become more accepted nowadays. If anything, just one single pleat per side, not the double or triple pleats that I usually wear, but those are just some things I've observed from a fashion point of view right now. This is some stuff that's just hitting the runways now, and you know, something to keep your eye on. But in the end, you don't need to be a slave to fashion. You wear whatever you want to wear. You know? Wear what you want. Don't worry about what someone in a magazine says. Wear what you want to wear. Wear what gives you happiness. Our next letter. Dear Review Bra. In my previous email I sent to you, I asked for your address only because I felt bad. When you opened up the Munch pack, the Taito bag was opened. I wanted to send you a bag since I live in Ireland, as I could buy a bag from any of the shops in town. But after sending that email, I felt it might have been a little too pushy. So to make up for that, I drew a picture of you. Maybe you could feature it in a VORW show. I'm not the greatest at drawing, but I did my best. I also have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Do you play any instruments? Well, I play the Shortwave Radio. I did, when I was younger, play the violin a little bit, but that was mostly just in school. You know, I did that briefly. I was a pro. I could play Mary Had a Little Lamb like nobody's business. I could play incoherent, random notes on the recorder at my heart's content. That's about it. Can you sing or dance? Well, that's debatable. I don't think I can. Give anyone a couple shots and have a karaoke night and everyone will think they can. But, I don't think I'm not really talented in the field of, music in any way. Playing an instrument, singing or dancing. I just keep myself as a keen listener. You also ask, do you play any video games? Well, in what sense? Your standard console games? No, I don't. In terms of computer, nowadays I've gone back to I'll play the RuneScape game a little bit every now and then, but mostly now I just focus on community management at this point. I'm trying my best to work with other people to take care of the advertiser problem. So do I play the game? Well, I play it a little bit. I've been trained some stuff, but mostly I just try and rid the game of these hackers and scammers. And so I've been trying to do that mostly. I feel I kind of owe it, and I want to help. Otherwise, I'll play, some miscellaneous computer games. I mean, I think when it comes to video games, this isn't really the response. I think it's mostly in terms of console-based games, so the answer to that is no. But otherwise, I'll play Tetris, online Tetris, and that I can do. I've done a lot of practice, and I'll play it on the official Tetris.com site, I think the official Tetris site, and I could get up to the highest level, at least now. I can get up to level 25. But a lot of people, they can just keep it going and going and going, and as soon as it gets that, it just piles up so quickly, But it's a fun game. It's an enjoyable game. Tetris can just, especially when you have a lot on your mind, you can just lay down the little Tetris blocks and get row after row completed. And the biggest satisfaction, of course, is when you really stack them up intentionally so that the one horizontal row can come down and you can clear out 4 at a time. That's always the best part. That's what I always think is the most fun when I play Tetris. And I'll play some Mahjong too. That's always a fun little puzzle game online as well. I'll play that from time to time. And that's just the stuff that I enjoy, I've tried my luck with console-based games years ago, but it just didn't appeal to me anymore. And, as I say, to each his own, right? Anyway, let's check. I hope you like the drawing, and I hope you feel better. Sincerely, Melanie. Let's see the drawing. Oh, it's nice. I like it. It's a good drawing, and thank you. It will also be featured in this VORW program, and thank you for your email. I always appreciate the people who do draw fan art, or they make it on their computers, or whatever it may be, painted even, because I realize, as someone who doesn't have any artistic talent except a few abstract pieces, I mean, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into that stuff, and I'm always very appreciative of anyone who's willing to dedicate that time just to make a piece of fan art for this program, so thank you. Will you do a lecture on hair products or smart casual clothing? Well, maybe. Starred the email to keep that in my mind. Well, maybe. I might happen. I can't guarantee it. But I might talk about smart casual clothing or hair products. Yeah, I might. Might definitely do so. Do you hear that creature there making that noise? I don't think it's trying to say anything offensive. Hello. I'm writing for you for the first time, but I'm hoping it will be the first of many letters. I live in the UK, more specifically Scotland, and even though most products you review are not available in my country, I still find you quite interesting to watch. You have a way with words, you stand out, and you aren't an overweight, greasy no-name. You're slick, classy, and fashionable. I'm shocked to hear the news about Willie. Such an excellent cat. I'm hoping that you're doing well. I noticed in your VORW show 144, you were slightly down in the dumps. You did talk about your feelings, the recent loss of Willie, and the amount of people trolling. It has me a little worried with the news of the Manchester attack and use of your face. It's actually quite shocking. I'm deeply sorry that you're the butt end of these trolls. Hope you're keeping well. Kind regards. Well, thank you very much for your letter and your concern. Thank you very much for it. Well, of course, when you have such incessant harassment, it's always a pain, and, you know, sometimes you get a little worried about even, you know, am I going to have to, if I go out in public today, am I going to get harassed, you know? And it's not fun having to think about that every single day. But, in the end, you know, I power through it, and I focus on things in life that aren't the bad things, you know? There's a lot of bad things, a lot of bad people out there trying to cause me harm, mostly just, you know, mentally, emotionally, etc. Online, trying to pull stuff. I mean, when you realize the extent that these people went through to actually get it on international media, I mean, it's no joke. You know, it's no joke at all. It's not just making this stuff up. You saw it for your own eyes. And the amount of stress that was unbelievable. But I realize, and it's something that I realize more and more every day, that despite all these evil people out there that will try to hurt me, badmouth me, try and cause me stress and strife and worry, there's good people out there too. There's good things out there in this world. And sometimes it's tough, admittedly, but you gotta focus on the good things. Big or small. Whether it's loved ones, or some object that holds value to you, or a good meal, or music you like, whatever it is. Everyone's case is different. You know, try our best to focus on those things through any bad times, and, you know, sometimes that can help get you through in one piece. But thank you for your concern. It is appreciated. To continue on, is the monetization AdSense problem getting better? I know you haven't if you haven't answered that already in the program. I was watching one of the last LA Beast videos, and he was saying that he had to move back home because of it. I know I speak for all of us in hoping everything gets worked out. Thanks so much for going the extra miles to bring us new Running on Empty food reviews. Love your channel, John. Take care. Until next time, from Brett. Thank you, Brett. And, well, it undulates nowadays. It has gotten a little better since the last time, at least. But it undulates, you know, it goes up, and it looks, wow, you know, it's getting a lot better, and then it just crashes down again. It's kind of scary, isn't it? You know, the fact that you're at the complete, you know, it's like YouTube just has you grabbed up by the collar, and they can just do anything they want because they control it all, you know? But I'm thankful that I'm making anything from this to begin with. It's not their obligation to run ads on the videos, so whatever I can scrape up, you know, I'm thankful for. I am. Hopefully, I'm looking for a place to live. Hopefully, if we can get the merchandise going soon, hopefully that can get some extra funding in there to get, you know, get things progressing in life, at least. So, hoping for the best there, and hoping everything can get sorted out smoothly, at least, through that. We have 2 more letters. And right now, I'm running out of room on this recorder. I'm going to pause momentarily, get the file transferred, and we will resume shortly. Okay, I'm sorry the recorder acted up the last hour or so, 30 minutes or so. I apologize, I'm sorry. I don't have any way to tell. We have a few letters left. We'll check the YouTube inbox as well afterwards, but I would highly recommend, going forward, that all letters with the intention of them being read on this program be sent via email at repweekinterview1@gmail.com, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Well, you may inquire why, you know. Why email? I mean, if you have a messaging system on YouTube, why not just utilize that, if it's there? Well, the reason is that it was, well, the YouTube messaging system is very inefficient. I'll click on it. Now, it wasn't actually that inefficient always, but I'll click on it now, and a lot of the time it'll just be messages won't show up. There's no way you can respond to them properly. It's such a mess. It's terrible. So the preferred way to contact, of course, is via the email, RepWeekInterview1. But if you don't feel comfortable using email, I understand. So it is a viable alternative, and I do check on it. But just remember, it's if you really want to get yours read, I recommend email. That's the most preferred way. 2 emails left, then we'll give a quick scan of the YouTube inbox, and we'll read some statistics, and we'll call it a night. How's that sound? Okay, let's see what we have here. Here we go. I want to make sure this is for the, yeah, this is for the VORW, okay. I downloaded the TuneIn app, but I can't seem to find your station. I'm probably not doing it right. Is it only available for search when you're streaming? Anyway, thanks for recommending this app. Now I can listen to Jazz 88.3. I love this station. I searched for VORW, but I couldn't find you. Thanks in advance. Well, what I recommend you do with the TuneIn app is, when it comes down to it, search for WBCQ. Now, I know that's a lot different than, you know, VORW, but WBCQ is the name of the station that airs VORW, okay? And they stream on TuneIn. They have their own TuneIn stream, and when they play my show, you can listen to that on TuneIn. Sorry, I know everyone hates the sipping sound, but I'm trying to get this last drop, right? That's obviously so important. When it comes down to it, well, I searched WBCQ, and I'm listening, but I'm not hearing you. I'm hearing some music, or I'm hearing some raspy old, crazy 90-year-old guy talking about, you know, talking about the end of the world, i.e. Brother Stare. What am I doing wrong? Well, you're not doing anything wrong. Not at all. If you want to listen to the VORW show on TuneIn, search up WBCQ, you found them, and listen to the stream. You can listen to that stream every Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, or every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern. So Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, or Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Listen to the TuneIn stream at those times, and you'll hear the latest VORW radio show in glorious digital quality, and you'll hear some good music and some talk as well on your TuneIn app. Search up WBCQ and give it a listen at 8 p.m. Eastern every Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern every Sunday. So that's what I recommend with that. In the meantime, you can enjoy all the stations that you'd like. You can listen to Jazz 88.3 or any station, you know, that you really want to tune in. So that's what I recommend with that. Two messages. What happened to the VORW shows? They were my favorite. Sorry, Review Bra, I overlooked the last VORW. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you, and I'm glad you were able to find one. Let's see. Spam, 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 and spam. Okay, what else? 1, 2, 3, 3 letters. Dear the Report of the Week, I recently discovered your channel and have enjoyed delving beyond the food reviews into the VORWs. I'm interested in buying a shortwave radio off of Amazon, however I am halted for a number of reasons. I've noticed the details on certain units specify a frequency coverage, for example AM 530 to 1710, FM 88 to 108 megahertz, and shortwave 2.3 to 26.1 megahertz. Obviously, I'd like one that is similar to yours with access to a wide variety of channels, but prices vary immensely from $35 to over $300. I'm hoping I can get a decent one at an affordable price, but I'm clueless as to what I should look for when shopping for said shortwave radio. Going back to the example given below, the detail shows shortwave frequency coverage of 2.3 to 26.1 megahertz. And on the About section of your YouTube channel, the shortwave frequencies you manage are listed as kilohertz. I'm seeking some clarification, as well as possibly some guidance on purchasing a shortwave radio. Thanks from Zach. Zach, thank you. I'll be happy to help you out. I'm going to look up a model right now, so please give me a minute. Because a few people have mentioned they've listened on these, and I think I've heard some good things about it. Yeah. I have a number of radios I'm going to recommend you. What you want, now here's an important thing to remember in terms of shortwave frequencies, okay? Some people will abbreviate the frequencies in megahertz, but I recommend you utilize, you have them in kilohertz. Now, every shortwave radio will display them in kilohertz. They just abbreviate them in terms of coverage for megahertz, just in terms of just trying to make it easier, you know, less space to take up when they advertise the product. So here's a quick conversion. 2.6 megahertz is 2,600 kilohertz. And 26.2, we'll say, megahertz is 26,200 kilohertz. So you just have to move the decimal place, I believe, 2 places to the right, if I'm not mistaken. So, my shortwave frequencies, for instance. The frequency of 9395 kilohertz is actually 9.395 megahertz. The frequency of 7490 kilohertz is 7.490 megahertz. The frequency of 7730 kilohertz is 7.730 megahertz, etc. If you're looking for a shortwave radio that has coverage of the frequencies I broadcast on, I would recommend you find a model that covers mostly between 5,000 kilohertz or 5 megahertz and 20,000 kilohertz or 20 megahertz. There are a number of models, some under $100, that I recommend. I would recommend you, first and foremost, my own radio that I use. I have it sitting outside right here. I have it in my... I'll verify it if you want. I'll turn it on right now if you want. Fine. Let's do it. There it is. I'll even put it to a shortwave station if you want. There's a Cuban jammer.
As a man who was out for no good.
See? Hey, it's there. I have it sitting out here on the table. That is the Texun PL660. That is TECSUN space PL PL-660 model receiver. I got this radio back in 2014, and it is excellent. It is the best shortwave radio I've ever had. The antenna is very sensitive. It picks up a lot of stations. It comes with rechargeable batteries and a battery charger. So you have a little a little adapter that you just plug into the wall and plug into the radio every couple of days, and it'll recharge the batteries up. It comes with a little kickstand, a little external wire antenna you can hook up that'll boost the reception greatly, and it is beyond durable. And I say that from experience. It makes me cringe a little bit, the thought of dropping, my precious radio onto this concrete floor right now from a good probably 4 feet, in the air. And if you envision, dropping a piece of electronics from that height, onto this concrete floor, I mean, wouldn't you think it would burst open and everything would spill out? But it doesn't. And I hate to say this, but I've dropped it probably by accident over half a dozen times over the last few months. Barely a scratch on the sides. It's never opened up. It's never broke. It'll have a little issue here and there where sometimes the little knob will get a little loose or whatever, but this radio is just, it's so durable for me. So I highly recommend it. If you leave it on the table and, whatever, your cat knocks it down, it'll be okay. If you're an outdoorsman and you want to bring something out while you're hiking or camping or whatever, it'll be fine. If there's just it'll be fine. It's so durable, you can get it for probably $100 or less. I highly, if you can afford it, the Texan PL-660 receiver. But say you're a little pressed for cash, you can't afford it, what else? I would also recommend the Texan PL-310. That's another good receiver. You can get that a little cheaper. It still has a good amount of the bells and whistles that the PL-660 has. I would recommend that one too. It's another good receiver. I've had a number of people tune into the VORW shortwave broadcast on that receiver, and they can pick it up on that, so I would recommend that model as well. And if you want to try a different brand, I would recommend the C Crane. That's C space CRANE. So the C Crane Skywave shortwave radio. All these are relatively inexpensive. They have the frequency coverage that you're looking for. I would recommend those. So if I had to recommend some shortwave radios to you, that's what I would recommend. Some tips for listening, of course. Make sure if there's a, first and foremost, play around with the radio, get to know it, get familiar with it, get familiar with how it works, what all the buttons do, etc. There's no harm in doing that. Pay attention if there is a switch on the side for antenna gain. It might be ANT gain, it might be sensitivity, whatever. But make sure it's at the highest one, so make sure it's either on high, it might say local, normal, or DX. Make sure it's on DX. Just make sure that's on the highest you can get it. Because what that little switch does is it controls the sensitivity of your antenna. If, say, you want to just pick up the local stations, right, you would decrease the sensitivity of the antenna so you could only hear the local stations, so you're not being interfered with from a more distant station, per se. So number one, make sure that you have it set to the highest, so you have the greatest likelihood of being able to pick up the broadcast. Number two, of course, make sure that the telescoping antenna that's on the top, the standard, metallic antenna, is fully extended. Number three, try and have it away from, an electronic device, so not right near the computer screen, but maybe put the radio by your window, on the table. If you can afford to do so, maybe, have a relaxing evening outside and have the radio with you there, I'd recommend that. And number 4, consider your location, okay? If you're in Europe, I would recommend you check the frequencies of 99.55, 93.95, or 74.90 kilohertz. If you're in the United States, if you're in the northeastern United States, I'd recommend 93.95 or 74.90 kilohertz. If you're in the southern U.S., I'd recommend 74.90 kilohertz and 77.30 kilohertz. If you're in the Midwest and central U.S., I would recommend 93.95 kilohertz. If you're in the southwestern U.S., I would recommend 94.55 kilohertz. And if you're on the west coast, I would recommend 77.30 kilohertz. You can pretty much put that towards Canada as well. West coast, 77.30. Central Canada and eastern Canada, 74.90 kilohertz. If you're in Central America, 94.55 kilohertz and 99.55 kilohertz. If you're in South America, 99.55 kilohertz. I would assume you're likely in North America. If you're in any other parts of the world, no, if you're in West Africa, I would doubt it. But if you're in West Africa, you can still pick up the broadcast probably on 99.55, 93.95, and maybe even 74.90. And if you're in Asia, if you're in Japan, China, etc., you're out of luck for now. But I will organize a new broadcast. I'm starting to put the money on Sri Lanka right now, but we'll see, and that frequency will be publicized in due time. So consider the frequency as well, and if you can't get reception on one frequency, try the other ones too, and maybe something will work out. That's the good thing of broadcasting on multiple frequencies. If one doesn't have good reception, there's a good shot that another one will. I'll mention one other thing that's been on my mind regarding shortwave radio, and then we'll read the next 2 letters. I think it's 2, might just be 1. And then we'll look at statistics and conclude the show. I think you all know that I am an advocate for shortwave radio, and I think it's something that shouldn't be overlooked, even in today's very technologically advanced 2017 society. I'd like to cite an example of something that happened recently that I think I didn't even really make the news except in some circles, and I discovered this by mistake initially, and then I looked into it and I saw that this happened. It was by accident, but it just shows you the how helpless we are. Last night, and I'm recording this now Saturday, been about a week, I admit, that's why I said it's piecemeal. Please forgive me. I was browsing around last night. I was about to fall asleep, and I wanted to look at something on archive.org. For those of you who don't know, it's a very good site where you can look at archived web pages, and I wanted to look at the YouTube channel, because if you go to archive.org, you can actually look at the YouTube channel, the Report of the Week, and get a little vision of it back in 2012 and 2013 and 14 and so forth. And I wanted to look back at that. I was curious, and I wanted to look at that. Well, I tried to access it. I couldn't get there. It said, connection, I forget what it said specifically, but the page, it just refused to load. Every other website was working fine. Google was working fine. YouTube was working fine. Brand Eating, the food news site, was working fine. WebSDR.org was working fine. SDR.hu working fine, etc., etc. It was just archive.org, and the site was up and running. It was functioning perfectly. People were complaining. They were saying that archive.org was being blocked by Comcast. They were saying, if you'd believe that. They were saying it was being blocked by Comcast and you know, there were lots of issues going on along with that, and that no one who was, I guess, part of that, you know, or signed up with that provider could access archive.org. Now, it turned out that it was a glitch and it was fixed out, but look at that, isn't that kind of scary? That if they really wanted to, you know, the government or any sorts of businesses could just go ahead and block websites just like that so easily. And unless you're very technologically advanced, the average internet user is completely and totally helpless to it. You know, there goes the freedom of information on the internet, right? You think it's always going to be there, and you could always just stop and, you know, go ahead and just browse your favorite site, your independent news site, you know, whatever forum or whatever you use, go on YouTube, Twitter, etc. If things ever really did hit the fan, those could get blocked so easily and be completely helpless to it all. One of the best things about shortwave radio is that it can't be censored. It cannot be. The only way you can censor a shortwave signal is to actually physically jam it. And that takes a lot of power and usually won't happen. You can get a shortwave radio and never be interested in it. You can buy a cheap one, $20-30. Keep it in its box, let it sit on the shelf. You know, hey, maybe I tried to get into it, but, you know, talk radio just isn't for me. I'm just not interested in the sound quality, but I implore you, even if it's not for you, hang on to it. Just keep it there. Maybe it will interest you. Maybe you'll have some fun tuning around, hey, listening to VORW on the shortwave, getting that authentic analog sound, listening to broadcasters from all over the world to get an international perspective on news, current events, other cultures. Could listen to some independent political programming, religious programming if that appeals to you. Some interesting stuff there. Maybe that'll appeal to you, but even if it doesn't, I would highly recommend having a shortwave radio, because if things really ever did hit the fan, and you might say, yeah, well, I live in the West, I live in a first world country, I live in the developed world, it's not going to happen to me. Well, never say never, my friend. Things may be calm and peaceful now, but we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what'll happen one day. Sounds very grim and morbid, but it's the truth. I don't think your average citizen in 1920 said, well, alright, 20 years from now, World War II is coming, so I'm going to start stocking up and getting ready. All I'm saying is that it doesn't hurt to be prepared. If there ever is an information blackout, if God forbid things ever really did get very bad, if there's a natural disaster, whatever it is, sometimes it doesn't hurt to have a shortwave radio just on hand, sitting in its box. Well, you have one, you can pull it out and you can use it now. Utilize it. Could very well be your best friend one day, be a lifesaver possibly, to get you news so you know what the hell's going on when all these websites are suddenly blocked. And you're saying, how can they do this? How can whatever government or organization do this to me? Might sound a bit ridiculous now, but I think there's an age-old saying that holds true. Better safe than sorry, right? It just doesn't hurt to look. Get the idea in your mind. Don't have to act right now. But it doesn't hurt to have one on hand, right? Could also usually pick up AM and FM too, if shortwave. You know, if you want to listen to your local FM station while you're out mowing the grass or whatever. I don't know, doesn't hurt. I don't know. My sales pitch is done. Let's see. Oh, we only had one more, okay. Hey, Report of the Week. I'm a bit new to the channel, and I have become sort of interested in things you're doing with shortwave radio. Oh, look at that. I really don't have a clue about the workings of shortwave prior to subscribing to the channel, but I'm thinking about maybe transmitting some things of my own in the future. There's something romantic about the idea of being heard through some distorted plastic box in someone's basement on the other side of the world. Anyways, I should probably invest in an actual shortwave radio before I even consider broadcasting, but I was wondering if you could help me out in case I ever do start my own show. Obviously I need a transmitter, but how do I go from there? Are you a pirate station? It's all these sorts of questions I'm trying to get answers to. If you can give me some guidance on how to begin this process, that'd be greatly appreciated. I could dig up details and figure this out on my own, but you clearly know your way around shortwave, and I need a place to start. I know you've been having a rough go of things lately, so I'm sorry if it's a waste of your time. Cheers from Miles. Well, thank you, Miles. I'll tell you how I do it with the shortwave radio. And, you're absolutely right when it comes to the idea of being heard all, around the world. I mean, to think that here I am, and once I get the broadcasts to East Asia reinstated, even more so, but here I am, sitting here, pacing around, talking into this tiny little recorder that I'll plug into my computer, and compile into a show and send off. And the thought that there will be someone sitting there in India, for instance, or Southeast Asia, or even North Korea, listening on a shortwave radio to what I have to say, in a place so vastly, incredibly different than where I am right now, is just always crazy for me to think. That there might be someone in, the Algerian desert, for instance, listening on a transistor radio every single week, and I might never even know. I think it's a very interesting concept, and that's one of the things that really has drawn me into shortwave broadcasting. It's the fact that you can reach an audience that you will never reach on YouTube. How do I do it? Well, usually when it comes to transmitting your shows on shortwave, now of course you could get your own transmitter and you can be a pirate operation, but I would recommend that you take the route through a legal station. And the reason I say that is because these licensed stations they have transmitters and antennas that are, so huge. The transmitters can broadcast in the hundreds of thousands of watts. They have antennas that are hundreds of feet tall, these giant radio antennas. They have professional grade equipment that you will not be able to get just online and whatnot. And they can get you on the air at a relatively inexpensive price too. So I recommend that you get the biggest bang for your buck and you go with a licensed station. Now, speaking from experience, I would recommend that you look up WBCQ or WRMI radio. WBCQ will get you radio coverage to North America. WRMI radio will get you coverage to North America, South America, and even in some cases Western Europe. So that can be a little iffy, and I know that from experience. But I do have listeners on shortwave in Western Europe. Now, if you want to reach other parts of the world, Africa, Asia, you need to go through an airtime broker to go with that. I would recommend, personally, Shortwave Service. They're a German organization, but they're professional, they're serious about what they do. You recommend them. I would recommend them. You can talk to Christian over there. He's a professional, and they'll coordinate it all out for you, It'll be a little bit more expensive, but you'll be able to reach a target area that, programs, an independently produced program really can't be heard in otherwise, especially via shortwave. So I recommend you go through that. In terms of how everything else works, you make the program, get it, record whatever you want. And on shortwave radio, the best thing about it, unless, you're really going all out, religiously or politically saying, you should kill other people and disagree with you, that's not cool. But you can, state your opinions otherwise, play music, talk. You can do whatever you want. If you want to sit there and just, mumble incoherently for an hour, if you can pay for it, they'll let you do it. No problem at all. So don't worry about really what you want your program to be. All you need to do is get it done, get it converted to an MP3 format. That's the format that usually is still used in terms of transferring the files. Getting the file to the stations works in all different ways, and you'll coordinate that out with whatever station you want. But a lot of them nowadays use Dropbox, which works out great. Though some of them use an FTP server, which you'll need to have an FTP client for, such as FileZilla. And that's some old technology still from the, early 2000s and whatnot, but it works and it gets the job done. I have no complaints about it. Some are more advanced, they'll use Google Drive. So you have a wide variety of options in terms of getting the files to the stations. And from there, make sure you have an address to get the correspondence to, an email or a physical address. I would recommend starting it off with an email, and see what people think. Now, I would like to have some words of encouragement first and foremost. When you first start a shortwave broadcast, don't expect to get 40 emails on the first show. So you got to remember that. And this is one of the hardest things, I think, to sometimes get about shortwave radio. When you first expect to do something, you're so used to seeing view counts, how many people listened to something, how many people downloaded something, comments, etc. If you ever broadcast a show on shortwave and you don't get any emails for it, sometimes I think you might feel, a little bit upset, annoyed. You might feel bad about your program. You might think, well, nobody listens to it. But please don't take that as so. If you don't get any emails, that does not mean that people aren't listening. And I say this as a shortwave broadcaster. Number one, your broadcast will be coming in on people's radio sets who have no internet access and cannot let you know that they are listening. And number two, most listeners out there with internet will listen regularly and will not email you. I can say that from experience because I've gotten emails many times, almost every single week nowadays, from listeners. The last show I did, for instance, this Thursday, I got an email from a listener on the island of Jersey, who's listened every week on shortwave for months, and has only emailed me for the first time now. So take that, for instance. There's someone who is listening every week on shortwave over there for months, and only let me know now. And there was another listener in Long Island, New York, who tuned in on shortwave and listened for 3 weeks in the past, and after the 4th week let me know he tunes in regularly. And there's a listener in South Georgia who's listened for 2 weeks and now wanted to let me know the 3rd time that he tunes in regularly, And it just goes on and on like that, where you have listeners all across the country who do tune in to you and just won't initially let you know. And they will continue listening even after they send you an email and you might not hear from them again for a while. They're still out there listening. I say that as, a shortwave listener myself. I try and write in as diligently as I can to stations, but sometimes I just don't have the time. I just can't. I can't write in every week. There's one broadcaster that broadcasts some music to North America from the Netherlands, and every Saturday, and I'll tune into him regularly, but I haven't emailed him in a while, but that doesn't mean that I don't listen. So please, in terms of feedback, don't be discouraged if it seems light for a while, Don't be discouraged about that, so just keep that in mind. And one thing that you can't be afraid to do is promote your show. It might sound a little silly at first for a shortwave show, but don't feel bad about it. Sometimes getting the word about it really does help. Have an established schedule, established frequency, so listeners know when they can keep coming back. And from there, I wish you the best of luck. I would think back there was one broadcaster that really made a big mistake, and I feel bad for him, but it's a good example of looking at things the wrong way, you know? It was some DJ in Florida, actually. I think it was North Florida, if I'm not mistaken, who was into shortwave, and he decided he was going to make his own show on shortwave on WBCQ. And, you know, he was kind of promoting it a little bit on Twitter, but he didn't really have any followers or anything to begin with, so his tweets weren't really getting out to anyone. And I only found it out by accident because I had searched up shortwave that day, and I found his tweets, but I hadn't heard of it anywhere. And I was reading, and he was just posting updates, you know, this is going to be, you know, a new beginning for shortwave, and I'm going to show him it's not dead. And then an update, there's him, you know, a selfie of him making the show, recording this, you know, a selfie of him getting the show sent off, a selfie of him with, you know, his radio tuned to the frequency, getting ready to listen to the inaugural broadcast. This is going to be the new big thing, you know. And then it just abruptly stops after that. And then he just stops talking, and there's no news about the show after that. Indefinitely. Months later, nothing about a second show or anything. And I realized what happened. See, he made this mistake thinking that he would start this new music show, you know, with, I think it was EDM music, on shortwave, and it was going to be an instant hit, and he was going to get, you know, 70 emails or so from listeners all around the world. And I'm sure he probably thought that they would just be tuning in and listening, and they would immediately email him. And I hate to say it, but in all likelihood, he probably expected that, and I'm sure his broadcast maybe got 1 email, 2 emails, or maybe nothing. And I bet he got extremely upset about that, and just quit right then and there, because he got upset, and he said, oh, no, nobody effing listens to this anymore, F this, I'm effing waiting, you know. But that's a negative attitude towards it. And again, I speak from experience as a broadcaster. Just remember, in terms of feedback, you know, don't let it get you down. I mean, if anything, if you ever do seriously get a show on shortwave going, send me an email of the time and frequency. I'll listen to it. I'll give you a reception report. I legitimately will. If you ever do, I'll tune in. I'll let you know how it comes in. I'll give you some feedback on the program. So if you ever go ahead and do it, I'll be listening. I'm sorry again to bounce around like this, but this is a last-minute thing. Number one, I know some parts of this show were a little bit outdated, and I'm recording this final, very, very short snippet. The day I'm uploading this, I know it's, what is it, June 15th, 16th, 17th, it's a Friday, I know that, and this will be up early Saturday morning. But I was reviewing the entire VORW, so I sat there and I've been listening for 3 hours, just making sure that, since this is the first one I'm uploading in a while, that it's of the highest quality for you all. And there's one thing that I forgot to mention, but it's very, very important. This is in regards to the VORW Radio International program, and I don't know if there's going to be any takers here, and you don't even need to be a listener of this show, it doesn't matter, but if this appeals to you, please contact me, and we'll go from there. But I'm looking for individuals who are interested in recording a station ID for VORW, the radio broadcast, in a foreign language. I already have IDs recorded in Japanese, French, and Turkish, but if you are interested in recording a station ID for the VORW radio program in any other language, you can record one in Spanish, it could be Portuguese, it could be anything. It can be Arabic, it could be Chinese. If you're a speaker of Russian, go for it. German, if you speak Hausa, even something like that, go for it. But if you're interested in that, and of course the station ID would be played, perhaps not in every show, but definitely in the international shortwave broadcasts, in order to connect better with audiences in other parts of the world that may not especially speak English. So if you are interested and that appeals to you, you can email me at VORWinfo@gmail.com. That's VORWinfo@gmail.com. So if you are interested in that, you can just send me an email there. I could essentially just give you the short little thing to say, and you can add your own variances to it, but if you're interested in doing that, you can just record one, or first send me an email to let me know that you're interested, and let me know what language you'd be interested in recording it. Then I can just let you know what the ID would be, and then it would again be featured in the international radio broadcasts for listeners around the world. So again, if that does interest you, VORWinfo@gmail.com. We're going to wrap up the broadcast now, so I think coming up next is where I read the statistics, and then after that, that is all. Thank you, and take care. Okay. I'm going to wrap this show up. Make sure we recorded this all. I'm going to wrap this show up. Let's get some analytics. I think was it 146? Let's see, if there's the picture of Willie there, then it was. Yeah. Alright. Let's take a look at the let's take a look at this. I'm trying to figure out retention. Alright, well, let's see what the statistics were there. Well, let's see what we have. What the highest and lowest were. And now, the last one was admittedly short. It was just over an hour. And I know this one's going to be significantly longer. You see how they just vary like that. Starts off high, of course, a minute in, 90%. Down to 30% a minute, 2 minutes in. 25% at 5 minutes. 13% at 24 minutes. 11% at 37 minutes. 8% at 54 minutes. And 7.8%, 1 hour, 3 minutes, 44 seconds. What are the countries that had the highest view retention? Let's see this. Chile was number 1. 32 minutes, 22 seconds average view duration. Following that was Macau. 32 minutes, 11 seconds. Guatemala coming in after that with 30 minutes, followed by Macedonia, Cambodia, and Ethiopia, of all things. Very interesting. Ethiopia. There's a lot of shortwave listeners over there, if you would believe that. Lots of stations that transmit there. The lowest view duration comes from Aruba as 0.4 seconds. I wonder if that was a vacationer there, or if it was just a local. Oop, wrong video. All right. Gibraltar, the UK territory, city, and the Northern Mariana Islands. There's actually some Voice of America transmitter sites in the Northern Mariana Islands. That's very interesting there. They usually transmit the VOA Chinese and Korean service. Radio Free Asia also utilizes those, of course, of the Tibetan services, Korean to North Korea, Laotian, Cambodian, Vietnamese services, etc. And Burmese, too, can't forget that. Lots of listeners there. Alright, well, now you know your statistics. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are listening and you have any comments, questions, you just want to send me a letter that you want read in the next show, you can email me, repweekinterview1@gmail.com. Of course, remember, fan art is always appreciated, and if you're interested in having your fan art featured on a t-shirt, You can also submit that to repweekinterview1@gmail.com. I hope you have a nice week. Hope this week coming up for me will be alright. Keep those fingers crossed. That's what I'm doing. I got them crossed right now. Thank you for listening, ladies and gentlemen. VORW number 147 concluded.